So I think when she gets because she has to be video on for that too.
So can we just do it? Also, Jay, I just texted Jay that big slide sort of now. Can we just vote now so that when she comes, she can jump right in?
It's not my most favorite.
Yeah, Jamie, did you hear that question? We can just vote for her now before she gets here, or she needs to announce, I think. I think she needs to verbally announce her reason. I don't know. Jamie, can you?
Yeah, that's the issue. She needs to announce her participation for emergency circumstances.
Okay, so I will pause the proceedings when she comes back, and we will move to her announcement and then.
Okay. She's gonna try to join just to listen in for now, but then when she's on video, she'll be right.
Okay. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for patiently waiting. We are calling this meeting to order of the Isla Vista Community Service District Board of Directors. I'd like to announce that the meeting is being recorded. Roll call, please.
Dr. Brandt?
Here.
Dr. Plott?
Here.
Dr. Deschler?
Here.
Dr. Topliff?
Here.
And Dr. Seapos?
Here.
Okay, before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the Chumash people who are the traditional custodians of this land. We pay our respects to the Chumash elders, past, present, and future, who call this place, Anasqueo, the land that Isla Vista sits upon, their home. We are proud to continue their tradition of coming together and growing as a community. We thank the Chumash community for their stewardship and support, and we look forward to strengthening our ties as we continue our relationship with mutual respect and understanding.
Can I be excused?
No, we can't. Sorry, we cannot lose quorum. Okay.
I just want to.
Okay, order please. We are now going to enter the board vacancy interviews. The board will interview candidates for the board of directors vacancy and discuss as needed. A schedule and interview questions are attached to the agenda. Board applications will be added after the application deadline Saturday, June 21st at 6 p.m. And Jonathan, are there any announcements before we begin this process?
Just one thing to note is that we had a late application come in that we added on to as the last applicant. So we have 5 applications.
Okay. So everyone should have received the 5 resumes and applications as a part of that folder. Okay. So now
and all the candidates are registered or confirmed to be registered voters within the district.
Okay. Thank you for that. And I will say, I've said it for the room, but for the record, Director Hobart is listening in right now, but due to an emergency, needed to evacuate. And so I think she will be rejoining us. And at that time, we'll pause the process so that we can vote as per the law to allow her to rejoin us. So thanks everyone for bearing with us. Some hiccups today. So the process is going to be, we're going to go through an order of candidates. The order is going to be Antonio, Esteban, Byron, Catherine, and Johnny. I'm going to allow for a 5-minute introduction from each of you, and then we will go through a list of questions that we have. There are, I believe, 6 questions that we will go through. And so and those questions are posted on our agenda as well. So with that, I will hand it over the floor to Antonio Reles. Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yeah.
Antonio Reles. Yes, you can stand over here in this area, and you will have 5 minutes for your opening statement. And I'm just pulling up my timer right now. Okay. All right, go right ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Antonio Reles. I'm a second-year physics and computer engineering major here at IVCSD, and I'm applying to be part of the board of directors here in the IVCSD. I found about you guys over the fall quarter of being part of the honors program. I, funny enough, joined the CAPS program under Maya, and from there I kind of learned about the different services you guys offer, and I didn't realize how far to the extent you guys actually went to go to support the community. Coming in, I didn't know that ID itself was an unincorporated community, and I didn't understand the consequences that it entailed. And I find it quite honorable the things that you guys have been doing for the community. So just kind of seeing what I want to do in the future myself, I can really see myself contributing to this organization, developing some skills, that otherwise I would not be able to develop in organizations within UCSB. So I think that's one of the major reasons why I want to come into this organization, is to develop not just the social skills, but also the policies that help drive this community to make it better than what it is and what it has been. So yeah, it's a brief introduction. So I'm ready for the questions. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Thank you for that, Antonio.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask that we keep just for standard, and this will probably be everyone, if you can try to keep your answers to 1 minute. I'm not gonna hold you on a timer to this, but just for posterity so that we can get through everything.
Sure.
And I'll start with the question and then we'll work our way down this way. So the first question is, why do you want to join the IVCSD Board of Directors?
Right. I think one of the major reasons why I want to join the Board of Directors is to have an impact on the community that will actually be noticeable. By that I mean is I could obviously try to join, a campus organization within UCSB, but it's not really helping the people that actually live here in the Isla Vista community. At the end of the day, I really want to see if there's ways I can implement programs that will actually help the majority of the members in ways that UCSB cannot, and that this organization, the IVCSD, can, as the only real government that actually exists here on Ivy. So yeah.
Excellent. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
What would you do if you believed you needed more accurate and complete information in order to make a board decision?
Right. I think one of the main things I would try to do right off the bat is just do a lot more research about the specific topic and issue, and see what other similar organizations have done to address that issue. However, I know for a fact that IB is in and of itself has a very unique situation where it is one of the only unincorporated territories to not actually be a university. By that I mean Stanford itself is also considered an unincorporated territory. However, it's not a local government. Whereas IB and IVCSD itself is its own territory and is next to a major university. So I'll also come with that point of view in mind that some of the solutions that we would have to implement will require creativity and outside the box thinking.
Thanks.
How would you collect and respond to feedback from Isla Vista community members?
Definitely just going around and just talking to as many people as possible, and not shutting out people who I deem like not worthy of their opinion. Just being open-minded and just talking to everyone as I can, and seeing if there's a way that I could potentially try to collect pools of people's opinions depending on certain issues.
What will success? Oh, sorry. Wait, is it my turn?
Go ahead, Annabelle.
Okay. What will success for you in this role look like a year from now? In your mind, what kind of things create an experience of success?
Right. One of the main things I would want to implement in this role is to try to see if there's a way we can minimize bike theft. I know that in IB and UCSB, one of the major issues that I feel like no one really addresses is the theft of bikes. I know that happened to myself my first year. I sadly lost my bike. It wasn't even in the first year. It was actually the first quarter I was here. Within the first 4 weeks, I had put in locks on everything, and there wasn't really anything I could do afterwards once it got stolen. For me, success would be successfully implementing new ideas to help better the community and also improve the community in ways that I do not see at this current moment. So yeah.
Will you serve out the term through December 2026 and/or seek election in November 2026?
Usually when I try to apply to a new organization, I usually apply with the mindset of finishing through my term. I don't plan to be wasting my time in a place that I don't see will actually benefit me, nor that I cannot benefit that place. So with that in mind, I do see myself continuing through the term till December 2026. However, would I try to rerun would only be dependent on my experience in this organization.
Have you attended or watched a board meeting of IVCSD or some other elected body? Was there an issue raised that you felt strongly about? How would you express your stance on the issue? If you were on the board and it came time to cast your vote, what role would community concerns, state, local, and federal laws, the input of staff and board members, and your own values and beliefs have in determining your vote? That's a long question. So if there's
Yeah.
any parts you want me to reread, just
For
let me
sure,
know.
for sure. Yeah, unfortunately, I've not been really a part of many municipal meetings and have given my opinions at said meetings. However, I have been a part of a lot of the ASF&B meetings, and I myself being a part of the Gaucho Rocket Project, have been a part of executive meetings that have discussed issues that pertain to such organization. I think for me, whenever coming to some sort of disagreement with another, it's important to recognize that people's opinions do have merit in ways that you cannot see yourself, because they themselves have experiences that you have never experienced. So I believe part of that question entailed how I would go about agreeing and implementing my own opinion. For me, I would definitely listen to what the other party has to say. And I would definitely consider, I would say in order of precedence, the law, the opinion of people I'm representing, and then my own opinion. Because at the end of the day, I feel like this position as the board of directors is to be a sort of representative to members of the community. And it is important to be reaching out to said members, as mentioned, I think in the previous question. So yeah.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Those are the end of our pre-prepared questions. Do board members have any other questions that they would like to ask?
I do.
Go ahead.
In one of your earlier questions, you answered talking about how you wanted to minimize bike thefts, and your like goals to implement like new programs in the community. Do you have any examples of like programs that you think would benefit Isla Vista?
Well, for me, particularly that bike one kind of does matter. And just kind of double down how I would want to implement that is I would try to see if there's ways we could install cameras, particularly in places where people lock their bikes. The idea being is it's also working with the university and possibly even the CSOs, because I know that the CSOs, they have graveyard shifts in which basically they go around all of IB, just checking if there's anything happening to an UCSB student. So the infrastructure is already there, but including potentially cameras such that if there is a suspicious figure with bike locks, because it's kind of hard to hide that, to see if we could get someone on the scene to essentially scare away such actors. And I feel like the bike thing is something that happens not necessarily seasonally, but at every day of the year. I've always hear walking around in IB, talking to friends or talking to strangers, oh, my bike got stolen. And it just happens way too commonly, in my opinion.
Thank you. Okay.
I wanted to ask you, you mentioned something about a rocket program.
Oh, yeah.
If you could elaborate.
For sure, yeah, I'm part of the Gaucho Rocket project. Essentially, what our goal in that organization is to build the first liquid landing or liquid engine rocket that lands by itself. Kind of how like SpaceX landed their own rocket. We're trying to be the first university here in the US to land such a rocket. And currently, we have about 50 members, but I'm not sure what else to say about the organization.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a follow-up question on that. Do you have a leader? What role do you play in the Gaucho Rocket Project?
Yeah,
Do you have a leadership position?
I'm the chief operations officer. So essentially my role is to make sure that there's enough funding for the organization, that all members who are within each branch, because we have essentially like 3 branches, they each have a job that they're actually enjoying. I'm also working with the marketing, so running the Instagram, making sure that the captions are well, and also finding conferences that we go to, so we could build industry connections. That's one major thing we want to do, is to help support engineers, physicists, and any member to get a job within industry, particularly in the aerospace field. Yeah.
I have one more question. You mentioned that you worked with Maya, and I was just curious what you did with Maya.
Oh yeah, so with Maya, I worked as under the community ambassador program. Essentially, I spent at least 10 hours of community service with different parts of the IVCSD. I know I did a bit of the beautify and the compost right off the top of my head, and it was a very nice experience. Yeah, and the Battle of the Bands. Yeah,
Cool. Thank you.
Say it again, John.
Kylan has a question.
Kylan, so at this, do we need to vote for her to participate before she asks her question?
I think she can ask it before we vote.
Okay, let's do that then. Kylan, go ahead with your question.
Okay, hi. Sorry, I might have just missed if this was talked about since I was leaving my location. But aside from the bike theft issues, is there anything else in particular that you're interested in pursuing for the community through IVCSD?
Well, funny enough, there was a sort of marathon idea I was throwing about, particularly with Maya. Essentially, I wanted to see if there's a way we could throw a marathon in IB, be the first organization to do it. The reason being is because marathons tend to bring in a lot of attention and therefore a lot of revenue into local businesses, and also allows UCSB organizations and people around the general Santa Barbara area wanting to come here to IB. And I think by bringing in more people into IB for something that we can make annually, it allows for IB to not necessarily just foster a better community, but to also grow what we already have.
Okay.
Awesome, thank you.
Not seeing any other questions from board members, so I'll allow you, since you got a little bit more time, any final thoughts that you'd like to share that we haven't asked about?
Well, Maya kind of brought it up, but I did also work with part of the Battle of the Bands, and just want to say it was thankful for the opportunity to do so. Same with the Caps. I think that a lot of what is already going on is great. I just want to see if there's any way I can help facilitate the growth that you guys are already doing and keep on with the momentum. Yeah. And also further promote to people at UCSB what exactly you guys do as an organization. I know that if I were to pick someone at random, for the most part, they wouldn't be too sure what IVCSD really did or who they really were. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you for the interview, Antonio. It's nice to get to know you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna pause briefly on the interview process so that we can go through the process to vote for Kylan to be able to vote and participate. Council, what info do we need from Kylan?
I already gave it to Kylan. She's ready.
For Kylan, go ahead.
All right, so I am joining under the emergency circumstances provision under AB 2449 due to a fire evacuation alert in my original location.
Okay, I think we need a motion to approve this participation.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Made by Deschler, seconded by Topliff. Is there any public comment on the motion? Not seeing any. I'll bring it to a vote. Let's do roll call vote.
Dr. Deschler,
Yes.
Dr. Topliff,
Yes.
Dr. Brandt,
Yes.
Dr. Palat,
Yes.
Dr. Seepos.
Yes.
Okay. Welcome back, Director Hobart, and I hope you're in a safe location. Okay. Now we are going to move. We're a little bit behind schedule because we started behind schedule, so my apologies for that. We're going to move now to Esteban Solis. So, Mr. Solis, same process as before. So you'll have 5 minutes for opening statement, and then we will go ahead and move to the questions. So your time starts now.
Okay, thank you, Spencer. My name is Esteban Solis, and I am a UCSB alumni. I studied environmental science, and now I'm interested in obtaining a master's in computer science. Ever since I was a child, I was inspired by Isla Vista. My father used to deliver produce to various clients here in Isla Vista. And so I vowed to be part of the community one day as a student and as a resident. And it's been great. So I am interested in all aspects of the CSD, not just one thing or another. I like all the different projects that you all work on, and I like how you do it. And I think it's pretty cool. I am interested in public works and anything that's having to do with sustainability, environmental sustainability, preserving the cultural heritage of IB, and the entertainment, the festivities that go on. So yeah, that's what I'm interested in. And I'm ready for questions as well. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. We will start the questions. First one, why do you want to join the IVCSD Board of Directors?
I want to join the board of directors because I'm already familiar with the way you operate. I've been noticing over the past year more closely about what the CSD is and what it does. And I like you guys. You're a great group of people. You're a great team, and I'm eager to become part of it and work more closely side by side with all of you, making decisions, doing research on what exactly it is that our community wants, what it is that our community needs. Um, there's always me, the person who has his interests. But now, if I were to serve on the board, it would be more about the community, more so than myself, and what the community wants, what the community demands, and be responsive to those concerns. Um, and yes, yes.
Thank you.
What would you do if you believed you needed more accurate and complete information in order to make a board decision?
What I like to do is take an inventory of what parties are involved in the issue, gather information from them, bring them together as a group if that is necessary. And sometimes we're dealing with issues that could be more complicated, more scientific, and I'm willing, at least on personal level, and also I would do the same for the CSD and our community. If necessary, hire a consultant that will do the research, that has the right tools to help us provide information to make the right decisions on whatever topic or issue we are trying to resolve.
Thank you. How would you collect that?
How would you collect and respond to feedback from Isla Vista community members? I kind of feel like you answered this, but
Yeah.
let's do it again.
Yeah, I did leave something out, in addition to taking an inventory of all the parties and gathering information from them independently and reconvening them if necessary. It's also important to see what's happening on social networks, on the internet, and know what kind of feedback we're getting from the community, or not just the community service providers that work with us. Any input that comes from the state or national legislation or local ordinances with the county. One thing that I like to do is have an inventory of agencies or groups, even nonprofits, that are interested in all the different work that we do. And if their input is necessary, they are always a great resource to go to, because they're always eager to work on whatever specific issue that is in their turf.
What will success for you in this role look like a year from now? In your mind, what kind of things create an experience of success?
What creates an experience of success is a good cohesive group like the one we all have these days. And at first, it's becoming familiar with what it is to be on the board. And then as the year progresses, in my opinion, to be successful as a CSD board member is not just to be here and observe the issues and make decisions on them and collaborate when we do get together twice a month. Moreover, it's important for a board member to become interested in specific issues, especially those issues that need more attention, that need more resource, that need more people money and everything else resource. Tackling these issues, coming together on these issues, being willing to take the time to serve on subcommittees. Yes, it's time consuming, but it's our community and it's important. So it's good for a board member who really cares about their community to try to have time to do a little bit more service with these subcommittees to have a better task force to address these issues and see these issues through and have some kind of a success, whether it's the way that Jonathan does the metrics to measure whether this was successful or whether it's we made the news on something that we worked on, or just people sending a thank you letter and being grateful for what we do. And this having to do with a project that the board was working on, and in particular, even a subcommittee that the board member decides to join to help bring a good resolution to this issue and make it successful.
And then next question, will you serve out the term through December 2026 and or seek election in November 2026?
Yes, I don't see why not. I do plan to be here in the community, perhaps forever. Who knows? But yeah, there's nothing taking me away. I don't have any plans to go anywhere else. I'm here to stay and seek re-election if possible. Yes, why not? That would be fantastic.
And for the last question, have you attended or watched a board meeting of IVCSD or some other elected body? Was there an issue raised that you felt strongly about? How would you express your stance on the issue? If you were on the board and it came time to cast your vote, what role would community concerns, state, local, and federal laws, the input of staff and board members, and your own values and beliefs have in determining your vote?
Okay.
I can repeat any of that if you want.
Sure. Yes, I have attended various meetings here at the CSD, and there was an issue in particular that I was somewhat passionate about, and I had a certain opinion about the issue. And like I said before, I like to collect information, go out and talk to the people involved and get more information. And I did some research on the issue. I actually went out and talked to people and did some research on the issue and also observed how things were playing out with this issue. And I changed my mind and I took a different position on the issue. And it's this successful collaboration that really helped in talking to the people involved. And yes, part of this question though also asks about the decision support systems regarding local laws and federal legislation.
Yeah, community concerns, state, local, and federal, input of staff and board members, and your own values.
Okay, so these laws, the state, local, federal ordinances, they set the boundaries about how we do things, what we can, what we cannot do, and provide guidance. The community's concerns, the input we receive from them is also really important that we take into consideration what the community is demanding, what the community is asking for, and integrating that into our solution systems. Staff and fellow board members, that's us. That's our machine that's going, that's doing the daily work. And of course, to me, that is one of the most key things is what my peers are providing, what staff is providing, and the dynamic of how not just the quality of information we pass to each other, but also the quality of the relationship and how we're getting along and how we really feel for each other as a colleagues who are doing something important and worthwhile.
Excellent. Well, thank you. That is the end of our formal questions. Any further questions from board members like us? Dr. Blatt?
Yes, in your fourth question answer, you talked about like becoming interested in specific issues as a priority for being a board member. What specific issues are you interested in and would you prioritize as a board member?
On some of the meetings I have attended, there have been concerns about finances and budget. So that would be a good starting point for me to look at these budgets and see what the whole dynamic is with that. And then identifying programs or opportunities for either cutting costs or generating income. And so I guess I'm just formulating it on the fly as you ask me this question, but I guess the good way to do this is look at the budget, look at these signals, these indicators, and then look at existing infrastructure that would cause changes in that budget, whether it's cutting costs or generating more income, and then pushing those projects through. And that's where the subcommittees come in. That's where becoming more focused on various projects. Now, I'm just being hypothetical right now and leaving it open to anything, but an example that I have expressed interest in the past would be like the composting project, for example, where if there's ways to make it more profitable, to generate more revenue, I would love to be involved with looking at ways to do that. One thing that caught my interest is, I know this is on the park property, but those solar panels that they have and keeping those clean, like having a little task force that goes out and does maintenance, things like that, keeping those clean keeps the charging station super efficient. If there's any other technology like that around Isla Vista or on CSD property, having a crew that does maintenance on all those things so that we are at maximum efficiency, lowering costs as well. So yeah, that's my example.
Thank you for that.
More.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Okay.
Excellent. Any other questions? Any questions remotely? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much for your interview, Mr. Solis.
It was a pleasure and an honor. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna go next to Byron Chan to be followed by Catherine Carmichael. So Byron, welcome.
Hello, everyone.
So the process is we are going to give you 5 minutes to make sort of an opening statement, talk about yourself and your background, and then we'll go into the 6 prepared questions that we have. And so feel free to start now.
Perfect. Hello, everyone. My name is Byron Chan. I am going to be a 4th year here attending UC Santa Barbara, majoring in political science with a minor in Chinese. I originally decided to apply to this position mostly because when I came here 3 years ago now, I fell in love with the community. And as I came here to Santa Barbara from the Bay Area, I realized that Isla Vista and Santa Barbara area itself is something that I've never truly experienced. Growing up in the Bay Area, it's cold, or it's really hot, or it's really foggy, and coming down here to perfect weather and good vibes. And then discovering more about this community politically by working with Congressman Carbajal as one of his district interns, and working through voter registration for 3 straight years with Dr. Viviana Marzano, and working in the local nonprofit space at the Legal Aid Foundation for Santa Barbara County, specifically staffing that legal resource center in the courthouse that offers free civil legal advice to anybody who comes in. I've learned so much about this area, and I've learned so much about our local community that I am so confident and so happy to call this place home. And my whole thing, the reason why that I applied to this position, despite lacking a lot of hyper-local experience, is because I want to make this community better. In my free time, I like to watch basketball. work out and go to the beach. It's always a lot of fun. Yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Our first question is, why do you want to join the IVCSD Board of Directors?
Yeah, I first heard about this opportunity, I believe it was 2 years ago from my friend Ella Schulz. We did UCSB Mall United Nations together, and I believe that she was a board member here at the IVCSD, and that was my first exposure to IVCSD. And I remember every time, because we were directors of training together, we would walk to and from executive board meetings for UCSB MUN, and then off to the general meetings, and we'd just talk about random stuff. And being like a little ambitious political science student, I would always ask her questions about the community services district because I'd never heard of a community services district before. I believe that it's something I believe there are other community services districts out there, but in the Bay Area, where I grew up, I had never heard of such a thing. And it was such a new and interesting concept to me. And then later on, in that following year, I took Viviana's class. I believe it was on civic engagement, and I believe a couple of you, specifically Spencer and Jonathan, came into that class and explained what the community services was and told me about the origin of this board and of this whole entire community. And by then I kind of knew that I wanted to be involved in some place. And I never really found that opportunity until my boss, Jennifer Smith, who works over at the Lee Lay Foundation, emailed this to me. And she was like, you should apply. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. There's an opening. This is perfect. But ultimately what it comes down to is I believe that I've worked hard in various community spaces at like a little bit of a higher in the greater area. And I want to bring that experience and the passion that I feel about this space here to Isla Vista. And I believe that this is the perfect opportunity for me to do that.
Excellent. Thank you.
What would you do if you believed you needed more accurate and complete information in order to make a board decision?
Yeah, something that I've learned from, I'm currently the president of UCSB Mall of the United Nations now. And as I've become president and I've learned that there's so many people and so many moving parts to manage, something that I found really valuable is making sure that everybody has a voice at the table and finding those who don't necessarily have that voice. It's those people who come in and who reap the benefits of the services, but don't necessarily know that either they have a place to express their voice or they have a place to make their opinions heard. I think that's the most important part. So if I don't have complete information besides obviously, looking to trusted sources, reaching out to organizations, other contacts in like the local political space or nonprofit space, it's finding those people who don't have that voice, who don't know about the community services district or that they can have an opinion, and then bringing them here and making sure that they're heard.
How would you collect and respond to feedback from Isla Vista community members?
Yeah, I think that first and foremost, people need to know more about what is within the Isla Vista Community Services District jurisdiction, making sure there's a clear distinction between the IVCSD and the UCSB as an institution itself would be very good, and making that demarcation super, super clear, and then opening up a bit more to like Isla Vista community members as a whole. I think something that could be really interesting, I don't know if this would be ever feasible, but hosting this sort of meeting in like a bigger public space, maybe outdoors, using that, beautiful weather to our advantage, and having people walk by and see like, oh, so this is what our local community government does. This is what they can do, and I can actually make my voice heard. Broadcasting that out and sort of amplifying the image of the community services district, while also being and telling everybody that, hey, we're here for you. We can offer these services. I think that's the best way to do that.
What will success for you in this role look like a year from now? In your mind, what kind of things create an experience of success?
Yeah, I mean, besides the very clear things of metrics and data and attendance and numbers, I think for me, what is most valuable to me is like the super small things. It's like whenever I go to an event that I put in so much work to create, and I see people who are happy, who are enjoying, who are having fun, and people who are enjoying the things that I worked so hard to create. It's like going around the community and seeing the benefits of the projects, watching that little community garden grow, or looking out and seeing like, hey, I did that, and there are people who are actually using this service, and their lives are better because of it. I think for me personally, that's what drives me, and that's what I would find successful and a successful experience in that sense.
Will you serve out the term through December 2026 and/or seek re-election in November 2026?
Yeah, I plan to be here in Isla Vista through December. I have no study abroad plans. I won't be gone for any lapses of time. I have many commitments here to Santa Barbara area itself. So yeah, I will be here.
All right, and for the last question, have you attended or watched a board meeting of IVCSD or some other elected body? Was there an issue raised that you felt strongly about? How would you express your stance on the issue? If you were on the board and it came time to cast your vote, what role would community concerns, state, local, and federal laws, and the input of staff and board members and your own values and beliefs have in determining your vote?
I've never personally been to an Isla Vista Community Services District Board member meeting. It's unfortunately last year and the year before conflicted with Malta United Nations. But I do look forward to the opportunity to attend future board meetings, and I do know that it will not conflict with going on to the future. But I have attended board meetings, city council meetings specifically in Goleta and my hometown. And I've attended these meetings and watched and seen how this process happens, as well as attended different hearings at both the state and the federal level on behalf of my state and assembly member back home and the congressman here. And I've noticed very different things about how people present themselves and the level of advocacy that comes from these different levels. And I believe that if my observations are correct, that at the most local levels where you get the most impassioned people, the people who care the most about their community, who are willing to make that trek, that commute, to actually announce what they're saying. Because at the federal level and at the state level, it's a lot of big, wishy-washy advocacy groups and all these different things and all these organizations and coalitions that oftentimes a lot of the people's voices get lost. It's the individuals who care the most, and they show up often the most at like the local city council meetings. And I think that's something that's truly beautiful. And I think that's something that I personally look forward to. And in terms of balancing out, you know, the state and the federal and the county ordinances. I think those things are very good to take into account, but I think the true goal and the bigger mission should be making Isla Vista a better place. And I think that's what should matter most over these bureaucratic, I guess, barriers or over like other things like that. And that comes from opinions of the community, opinions of the board members, and opinions of the people who live and work inside Isla Vista. I think those should be the most important.
Okay, thank you very much, Byron. Are there other questions from board members? I'll have a question. Can you talk a little bit more about your experience organizing and interacting with the community to give us a better understanding of that?
I think my primary experience with organizing is working for the Gauchos Vote Coalition as one of the voter registration director. This will be my third year working with the Gauchos Vote Coalition as a voter registration director, and which largely consists of organizing a lot of volunteers. We usually get around 40 to 50 people who sign up to volunteer, making them into like this giant spreadsheet, organizing, okay, so who can go where? Because our big fall event, which is the Storm the Dorm, we have a unit of people out in the Santa Catalina halls, and we have a unit of people on campus. And during all of the RA meetings, we go out and we register people to vote. We work with local community organizations like the Campus Democrats and and I believe Planned Parenthood as well. They send out a lot of people, and we work to register as many people as possible to vote. And unfortunately, with volunteers, as I'm sure you all know, a lot of people just flake, and it's unfortunate. And even though it does happen, it's about working so hard to make sure that there are always people at every single meeting, and it's running about and it's running amok, and it's making sure that as many people are registered to vote. And it's that sort of organized chaos that I've learned to thrive in through my time at Gauchos Vote Coalition that I think would serve me really well here at the Community Service District.
Excellent, thank you. Seeing no other questions, thank you for interviewing, and we will move on to our next applicant, Catherine Carmichael.
Thank you so much.
Okay, you've seen the drill by now.
Yeah.
5 minutes opening statement, and then we'll go through the questions. So your time begins now.
Sounds good. Hi, everyone. My name is Catherine Carmichael. So I first moved to Isla Vista in the fall of 2018 to attend UCSD for undergrad, and I have been in the Santa Barbara South Coast since then, pandemic excluding. I did go home to Santa Clarita for the pandemic, as I'm sure most of us, either stayed here or had to find places to go. Anyway, so I graduated in 2022 with degrees in communication and political science. Following graduation, I stayed in town. I loved Isla Vista so much, I stayed in town. I didn't have like a full-time job or anything, and against the advice of every responsible adult I knew, I decided to stay in Isla Vista and try to get a job in town. And in October of that year, I worked for State Senator Monique Limon, who is state senator for this district. So I worked in her office in the district entirely. So I didn't do any SAC policy trips, but my job was to know everything about the district. So I worked in her office in the district here in Santa Barbara, focusing on environmental issues. And also my issue area, we all split up the district. And everyone took a little zone, was Isla Vista, which I very aggressively stole from my colleague Benjamin, who had been doing it for years before, just because I loved Isla Vista so much. I was like, no, this is going to be my track. Like, it's fine you have Goleta, it's fine you have UCSB, this square mile is my track. So I worked in her office from October of 22 until February of this year. And I left because in the fall, I will be starting grad school at UCSB. So I was both an alum and a future student. So class of 2030, I'll be here until at least then. So that I'll be getting my MA and PhD in environmental and political communication here at UCSB. So I'm a gaucho through and through. It's also against the advice of every responsible adult I knew. They said, don't get your bachelor's, master's, and PhD at the exact same program, but I said, I'm gonna do it anyways. And a big reason why is just because I love this community so much, I couldn't leave, you know. There were other schools I looked at across the country, but also a big part of my research is community-based research. So, you know, I looked at all these different countries and, all these different places and even abroad, and, you know, I came back to UCSB, but also for Isla Vista, because I was like, well, there's no better place to study political science and environmental comm and community engagement than IB, where I'm home. So I guess I made the right decision, 17, and I've just been writing off that one since. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that introduction. First question, why do you want to join the IVCSD Board of Directors?
Yeah, so it's no surprise that I really, really love Isla Vista. You know, I talk about it every chance I get. That's actually how I heard about the vacancy. I met Spencer at a Dems mixer and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I moved back to Isla Vista. I am so pumped. And he was like, well, you know, we got a vacancy. You know, I absolutely adore Isla Vista, everything about it, from the garden loop that I take my dog on a walk and he likes to sniff all the community gardens as I've been checking your progress. He loves your compost piles. To the, you know, daily pilgrimage at sunset to and from the ocean, and you walk through and you hear music and you walk around, and it's a funky little town. But I have never seen any place like it, and there was never a place that I felt like home. I mean, I didn't even know Isla Vista existed until I was 17, and then I got here and I was like, no, this is my home. This feels more at home than, you know, I grew up in the high desert of Los Angeles, and I felt more at home here in 17 days in the first 17 years of my life there. But also, you know, I was involved in government before, working for Senator Limon, and obviously my academic research interests are very community and policy oriented. So IB has always been a place that I love and constantly think about, you know, engaging with the community. What do we need? What could we improve? You know, kind of my wheelhouse engagement, but also I'm really proud of the work that the CSD specifically has done. You know, I've seen since being here in 2017, the CSD looked a lot different, and just seeing how the organization has grown and grown and done more things to serve the community. And, you know, I've also noticed that everything the CSD has done has addressed an issue in the community that I've known about and felt, and other people have felt for a long time, which, you know, going around in the district to other local government meetings. I can't say the same about every other jurisdiction. Yeah.
So, thank you.
What would you do if you believed you needed more accurate and complete information in order to make a board decision?
Yeah, so I mean, my first step always would be to ask Mr. Mayor. I started calling Jonathan Mayor a while ago because it's kind of true. But yeah, you know, we have a full, excellent board here, you know, and it's kind of part of your job to give us decisions and to help us make, you know, decisions as we should. So if I don't have complete information, you know, I'm a social scientist by training, so I love questions, right? That's what my whole life revolves around. So, you know, ask, what kind of question is this? How is the best way to solve this? Why don't I know it? You know, also, is this something that I don't know because it's a personal deficit? You know, all of my board members seem to know this, staff needs to know this. Is it something that we just don't know? Maybe, hey, we need to open up some more data points into this, right? It's like, everyone knows that too many cars in IV is a problem, but we needed to have the parking and mobility study first to actually understand what's going on. So, tackling the question, saying what kind of question is this? Where is the best method? If it's going to be purely data analysis, I'm going to go to this team. Maybe it's more of an opinion and what is the best use of Pardal. That's something I'm going to go out into the community. And then something I always want to ask when I'm, trying to collect all my information as a government official, because, I view that as a public servant. So it's the community that comes first, is, looking around a room or all the information, asking who's not here and whose voice have we not heard from? People show up to local government meetings, but it's kind of hard to do. And you notice not many people do it. So asking, who's disenfranchised in this process? Who's never made it to a community meeting and why? How can we meet people where they are? I believe it's the job of the government to meet the citizenry where they are, not the other way around. So yeah, sorry for a little convoluted question, but that's what I do, seek more information.
How would you collect and respond to feedback from Isla Vista community members?
Yeah, so I touched on this a little bit more, but mainly it's going out to the community to see where they were. And I have a lot of experience doing this, working for Senator Limon. I worked in the district, and on our first day of the training, I said, all right, you're the eyes, ears, and face of the district. So everything that happens, you have to know. And that was a district of 1 million people, so I'm kind of excited for a smaller scale. I think it's more manageable. But through that job, I also learned that our role here is that of a public servant, right? So going through and seeing all those things. This is, pardon, I'm a little bit nervous. The question is, well, responding to community feedback, right?
Yeah, and you touched on it a little bit before, but how would you collect and respond to feedback from the Isla Vista community, members?
Yeah. So going out to see where they are, canvassing. I know that canvassing is kind of the bread and butter of this neighborhood. In 2018, when I first moved here, I got a great introduction to Isla Vista with campus stems, just walking up and down every single street, every single track. So canvassing is kind of the bread and butter of this district. I also appreciate that the CSD has explicitly put funding and effort into the social media. I know some of other people have talked about how everyone sees everything on Instagram. And yes, I do see your guys' Instagram like 10 times a day. And I know that beating that algorithm is very hard and it's very intentional to do. And that's why, because 50% of the population is students. So, making sure students are on Twitter, they're on Instagram, they're on Snapchat, not anymore, TikTok, So meeting people where they are, asking people who's not in the room and why. And right, the community feedback, kind of going into the next question, is what's most important to me. So I kind of view in a democracy the community engagement process to be a little bit sacred. So I'm excited about that.
Next question. What will success for you in this role look like a year from now? In your mind, what kind of things create an experience of success?
Yeah, so there's three main things that I'm really looking forward to in this role for success. One is just making sure that we are engaging with the community. So success would be being forced to move this meeting into a bigger room, because we are the fire, the fire's going to come down and say there's too many people in this room, right? Success is people knowing what the CSD is, people walking by the compost piles and being like, oh yeah, that connects with the Deltopia safety measures we're doing, and this connects with that, So community engagement is really important to me, especially in such a local government such as this one, and then, a board that is so responsive to the needs of our community. Also, I'm very passionate about the environment, right? I do a lot of environmental communication in my academic work. And I know that CSD and IB itself is a very, very environmentally friendly community. Earth Day started right here. I don't know how many decades ago now. So things for the environment, whether that be, supporting the compost piles, to going for the parking and mobility study, right? Because I'm off the top of my head imagining that our greatest source of greenhouse gas emissions is cars. I think that's probably a decently accurate guess. So doing a lot of environmental work, but also using that as a way to bring community members in, hey, we're building a new compost pile, and that's going to be huge. We're, having a It's not an adopt a block day, 'cause it's a compost pile, but like an adopt a block day for the compost pile. Those kind of things to bring the community in. And then last, I'm really interested in affordability and quality of life. You know, I'm a renter and I pay way too much of my income on rent, as I'm sure many Isla Vistans do. And you know, quality of life. Isla Vista is a weird town, but we've got a lot of social capital, and I'm excited about raising that as well. So have some social capital aspects, some affordability aspects. But those kind of things would mark success for make sure that the programs we're already running, we do a little bit more. And because I don't disagree with anything that's going on here already, and I think that all the projects are accurately going after expressed and long time community concerns. So just continuing on that good work and pushing it even farther.
And then next, will you serve out the term through December 2026 and or seek election in November 2026?
Yes, for sure. I will be getting my PhD in June of 2030. So I'll be there at least until then. And if UCSD would like to offer me a tenure position as a professor, that'd be great. I'd stay here forever. But yeah, I certainly intend to stay at least through 2030, and also would intend to seek re-election as well.
All right, for the last question, have you attended or watched a board meeting of IVCSD or some other elected body? Was there an issue that you felt strongly about? How would you express your stance on the issue? If you were on the board and it came time to cast your vote, what role would community concerns, state, local, and federal laws, the input of staff and board members, and your own values and beliefs have in determining your vote?
Yeah, so first question, yes, I have attended many CSD meetings going back to pre-pandemic. I think the first meeting I went was also in this building pre-COVID, and we didn't have this cool fancy remote setup and everything. And then also for my job for Senator Limon, one of my responsibilities was to know everything that was going on in Isla Vista and tell her about it. So I watched all of your meetings and a good amount of Rec and Parks meeting as well. Yeah, I mean, I've watched lots of government from C-SPAN to CSD to, well, if you work for the legislature, you have to watch their videos as well. I've also, done county, Goleta, city of Santa Barbara. I like to consider myself pretty politically and community oriented in the South Coast. So I've been to many meetings, mostly just to listen, some to give public comment. But something that I'm really passionate about, I said, earlier about the CSD watching their meetings, is making sure that the government has a good relationship with the people, right? Making sure we have that community engagement, making sure that we can continue to move forward with climate goals in Isla Vista, and make sure that we have, an affordable, high quality of living place to live. And that goes from, making sure that we have enough street lights, to making sure that we are not, completely dependent on cars, to making sure that we have enough government services coming down into our unincorporated town. And second part of that question, so obviously no one who runs for, or seeks to be appointed to an elected office, obviously they have a strong set of values and opinions themselves. But as I said before, my job here is as a public servant, and when it comes to democracy, public input is kind of sacred to me. So always, if I'm appointed, my job here will be to serve the community. So obviously it will be community values and concerns that are most important to me. In terms of, federal, county, or local laws, a lot of times that ties our hands. We have this great grant, but we have to use it for this specific project. And we wrote the grant 5 years ago, and we kind of changed our minds since, but that's what the grant is going to be for, working around those things. So, obviously, being the CSD, we can't just do things that are against state or federal law. But also we can work with those things. Maybe there's a state law that our community really does not agree with. Well, then it's our job to go to the state and represent our community and say, hey, there's this law that is not working super well for Isla Vista. What can we do about that? So that's where I kind of orient the different factors of influence and levels of importance.
Excellent. Thank you for that. We are right
Run out of
at time at 14 minutes and 55 seconds at this.
Cool.
So I'm going to hold questions and say thank you very much for interviewing, and really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much.
Okay, and last but not least, we have Johnny Rodriguez McConville. Hello, Johnny. So as you just walked in, I'll restate the process. So it's 15 minutes total. First 5 minutes for you to give an introductory statement, and then we'll go through the 6 questions. And if we have time for extra questions, we'll ask those questions. So feel free to start whenever you're ready.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, my name's Johnny. I'm a second-year poli-sci student here at UCSB. I also live in Isla Vista, which is one of the big reasons I'm applying to be on the board. I have tons of grassroots experience in the community. I've worked on campaigns on UCSB campus. I've also canvassed all throughout IV in Santa Barbara. So yeah, tons of experience, and I feel like there's a lot I can bring.
Excellent, thank you. So then I have your first question, which is, why do you want to join the IVCSD Board of Directors?
Okay. Yeah. So again, as I've said, I live in the community. I feel like I'm pretty tapped into what most people in the community want. Yeah, because those are also my wants and needs as well. And I feel like I can bring that to the board. One of the big things that I think, I'd want to do if I was on the board, everyone's talked about it, is the rental thing. Yeah, that's one of the big reasons I want to be a part of the board, is to tackle that problem. I feel like there's a lot of solutions. And one of the big issues with it is that a lot of people just are not tapped in and don't know, how to better their situation. I know there's a county program for IV specifically to target bad rental conditions. And again, in the same vein of what everyone else has said, I think that the board, the Community Services Board, can do a lot more outreach. That you guys have already done a lot, but I think there can be a lot more outreach done, and that's kind of what I want to bring to the board.
What would you do if you believed you needed more accurate and complete information in order to make a board decision?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I would just go out and do my own research first, but also most importantly, listen to people, who know what they're talking about, listen to experts. And I do have a lot of experience doing this. I've run campaigns on campus, notably of which a big one was, I was a big part of the Stop Sable campaign to stop the dangerous restart of a pipeline just right off our coast. And oftentimes during that, I'd have to read staff reports, and read, through all the legal jargon and stuff like that. But most importantly, defer to, people who knew more than me, higher ups, about what the best way to do things were, and why certain things were the way they were. So I think TLDR for that question is, just listen to people who know more than me and do my research.
How would you collect and respond to feedback from Isla Vista community members?
Yeah. So again, a lot of grassroots experience. So I think one of the biggest things I would do, again, as someone who lives here, just talk to people around me. All my friends live in IV. I myself live in IV. Just consistently talk to people about what they think the state of IV is like, and what they think could be done better. Another thing is I'm also no stranger to going door to door. And I think that's really important. Again, IV is really community oriented, and I think doing that would be really important. Not just to collect feedback, but also making sure to inform people about what's going on and stuff. So yeah, I have no issue doing that.
What will success for you in this role look like a year from now? In your mind, what kind of things create an experience of success?
Yeah, so I think like a year from now, success would look like, I can talk to the average person in IV, and they know about what's going on with IVCSD. Yeah, pretty much, because I've talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people don't even know what the Community Services District is, which is really unfortunate. So I think a year from now, success would look like people know what's going on in the community, know what IVCSD is doing, yeah, and kind of just know that it exists. Yeah, and I think another really important thing to monitor success is, in my experience, tracking is always really good. I know you guys do a lot of it, but making sure that, if we want, if we have a plan and an agenda that we want to push forward, that we have concrete goals and concrete information on like how many people we've reached out to, how many people have actually done concrete steps that we want to do. For example, if there's like a rental program, making sure that we tracked how many people, actually interacted with it, and stuff like that, because in my experience, that's, what's been the most successful in politics, and campaigns that I've worked on. Again, just making sure the tracking is consistent, because it's always better than just anecdotal evidence or, yeah, I've heard it's working,
And then will you serve out the term through December 2026 and or seek election in November 2026?
Yeah, I do plan to, and if I feel, fulfill the position, yeah, I would seek re-election.
All right, and for the last question, have you attended or watched a board meeting of IVCSD or some other elected body? Was there an issue raised that you felt strongly about? How would you express your stance on the issue? If you were on the board and it came time to cast your vote, what role would community concerns, state, local, and federal laws, the input of staff and board members, and your own values and beliefs have in determining your vote?
Yeah, so I've, attended a plethora of other board meetings. I think, my most strong experience from that, again, comes from Stop Sable campaign. I've attended tons of board meetings for that, given public comment and stuff. Also interacted with the concerns of people actually on the board. And obviously that I was advocating for the pipeline not to be restarted, in different sorts of ways. But I think the most important thing I've gathered from that is, from my experience, most often than not, laws have morphed and changed over time to serve people in the community. And I think that's what's most important at the end of the day, for someone on a board, is to serve the needs of the community. And I think, again, most often than not, that's what the laws exist for. Yeah, and also making sure that you have a coherent vision for why you've made a decision, reading staff reports and stuff like that. But yeah.
Thank you for that, Johnny, and we still have some time. So any other questions from the board?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
What would be like a specific project you would like to work towards in
Yeah.
Isla Vista? Like what's something you think that you could add?
Yeah, so again, I talked about it a little bit. I think the rentals issue is a big deal. I think it's the biggest deal in Ivy. And again, I think one of the biggest problems with that is not a lot of people in Ivy know what they can do about it. People kind of just, accept the condition. But it really is bad. The population density is like one of the highest in the country. We pay an exorbitant amount for rent, usually for subpar conditions. Everyone knows it. I don't even need to say. But yeah, again, just making sure that we reach out to people and know what they can do, making sure that we connect them, with county resources and stuff like that. Because I think more often than not, it's led to some disgruntled people. For example, people have tried to start, a tenants union, and they don't already know that one exists. It's just little things like that, which I think we could alleviate, by just letting them know what they can do. Yeah, also making sure that we connect, these resources with real results, by making sure they know. Another big thing that I'd want to work on is, more harmony between law enforcement and the people who live in IB. I know that's a big issue for people here. Yeah, and it really sucks. Again, anecdotally, a lot of people don't feel comfortable with contacting law enforcement, which is really unfortunate. I just had a friend recently who was assaulted out in the streets of IB and, didn't feel comfortable calling the police after it happened. So obviously nothing concrete was done to fix that. Yeah, and I think there can be a lot done to alleviate that.
Thank you for that. Any other questions from the board? Okay, I'm not seeing any. So I'm going to say thank you very much for interviewing Johnny. Really appreciate getting to know you. And I have one more question that I'm going to ask a thumbs up from all our applicants that are in the room. It's just, this is for logistics because summer months are challenging logistically, both for our staff and for our board. So thumbs up or down, can you make in person the August 12th Board of Directors meeting if you are appointed? Okay, I'm seeing thumbs up from everyone. Awesome. Okay. So with that, we are now going to move to the appointment process. I think the board should have an attachment as a reminder of how the appointment process works. there was the opportunity for people to essentially make nominations, and then we entered the exhaustive ballot process. Or sorry, not nominations. Sorry, I'm confused by it.
Comments.
Say again?
You meant comments.
Comments
Yeah.
is what I meant. So I will open it up to the board and ask if there's anyone who wants to start off with comments. Go ahead, Director Dashler.
I'll make just a general comment. I just want to really commend everyone who has submitted their name and has taken part in this process. It takes a lot of courage to stand up and put your name forth to do something like this. And I just want to just acknowledge each one of you. You really expressed yourself well, and it's really clear that you have a commitment to Isla Vista and that you have good hearts, you know, and I hope that whatever happens in this process, that you find your way to contribute to being here and making our community one that really represents what all of us think of Isla Vista. So I just really commend you because it's, you know, I was looking at Johnny and I was like, Johnny, can you drive? I mean, you just look young. and I just thought to myself, you know, you guys you really put yourself out there and you've just expressed yourself so well. And it's very heartening to do this work and to see people be part of this process. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Dashler. And I think we have a question on Zoom.
Sorry, I meant comment. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of echo that. I think that obviously we can only choose one person to join the board, and we've got an amazing pool of applicants that have already demonstrated just this very strong commitment to Isla Vista and to the people that live here. So I hope that regardless of this process, we can still work with all of you in the future, because from what I've heard so far, everybody has a lot of love for this place and could do a lot of good. So
thank you, Director Hobart. I'll echo that sentiment of just, you know, we have an embarrassment of riches in the applicants that have applied today, and I'm just so thankful to each of you. It's really inspiring and like affirming just to hear the love for this place that I share with you all and that you share with me and all of us that are on the board. And so I just really appreciate it. And being in public service right now, this is a challenging time for our democracy and for our nation. And I think that you're all here because you understand that the way through our challenges starts here in this room and in other local communities like us around the country. And so I really appreciate you stepping forward and wanting to lean in to try to create that better world here through our local institutions. And so you know, I'll talk a little bit about what my deliberative process is, right? In reviewing the applications and the interviews today, I asked myself a couple questions is, does a candidate have the necessary skills to be an effective board member? To me, that's communication, listening, working collaboratively. Is the candidate already showing leadership skills in the community through working, whether it's involved in clubs or through different employment roles? And I also, it's hard for us not to think about Director Freeman, who I'm assuming is listening in right now, and think about all the qualities that he brought to this board that I will miss really dearly. And although we can never replace him, you know, I think about the quote from Moneyball where it's like, we're going to recreate him in the aggregate. The thing that, to me, there's the thing that I realized that Director Freeman brought to us that is really important is the ability to be involved in the organization long term. And so I think that that's why it's kind of where that last question was coming from. I have a couple notes about candidates. Antonio, I just really appreciate that you found out about us and have leaned in on volunteering, being involved in the ambassador program. I think that the fact that you come from sort of the physics and computer engineering space and that studies brings a quality also that reminds me of what Director Freeman brought to our board in terms of thinking about things in a really analytical way to problem solve. And I just really appreciate the fact that you're already working with us, that you're already seeing problems in the community, trying to solve them, that you're involved in the Battle of the Bands, which was a huge success, by the way. And so I just really appreciate your involvement in that. Byron is someone that I've had a chance to work with for a couple of years as a partner in crime on voter registration. I just, I think our board adopted a resolution praising Gaucho's Vote Coalition and congratulating them on being the #1 voter registered campus for all the UCs and winning the ballot bowl from the Secretary of State. And a lot of that credit goes to you and your colleagues that are working to recruit those volunteers. It's so important, that kind of engagement. So I just think that that's such a valuable experience that you have, because voter registration is political power. Like, we are changing from a community that's been historically neglected to one that's being more active because of the voter registration. So I was really impressed by that as a part of your background. And for Esteban, you just bring such a generational connection to Isla Vista. We can always count on your engagement in the process. And, I never had any doubt at any point that whether you are appointed to this role or not, you're going to continue to be involved, because that's the kind of person that you are. You're going to continue to show up and give your input. And your background, just really caring deeply about environmental issues, is so in line with the core of what our community is. Johnny is someone that also really has a lot of that community organizer bona fides, and really the passion to protect our environment. I've seen him at the Coastal Commission advocating to try to stop the pipeline. And I know him personally from when I hired him for a political campaign a number of years ago. It feels like ages ago, but it really wasn't that long ago. And so I know firsthand just the skills that he has, being able to speak persuasively to people, to organize his peers and get people together to make a difference, which I just think is so important for what Isla Vista is like this laboratory of democracy. And I'm just really impressed by that experience at such an early age as a second-year student. And Catherine, I think, really brings just a unique combination of like a lot of those things, in addition to the fact that she's also worked for the state, working on constituent services, engaging with diverse populations, and really as someone that has the longer institutional memory of seeing where we came from as a district before we're where we're at now. And I think that is something that is really valuable. And the fact to me that you are interested in being in this role for the long term, I think is also something that weighed really heavily for me, because of the fact that Director Freeman was with us for so long and that we've had the turnover that we've had on the board. And I think that your experience already having been familiar with our operations through listening to our board meetings and watching them online from attending them is something that would allow you to hit the ground running if you were the appointed board member. And I think that is really something that I weigh as well. And so, yeah, I think that to just some of the things that you spoke about engaging with the UCSB sort of academic, the academic part of UCSB. We have an amazing partnership with a lot of parts of UCSB, but I think being able to plug in with the researchers too is something that I know that you were really interested about, that I think could be a big asset for us as well. Sydney and I were just rapping about like how cool it'd be for IVCSD to be teaching a class. So anyways, just throwing that out there. So those are just kind of the things that I'm thinking about, and I'm curious to hear like what my colleagues' takeaways were too. And I didn't say this off top, I usually do. If you think it's weird to like get job interviewed in public, it's weird for us too to have to discuss how we thought you did in public. This is a very different process, but it's transparent. It's the way that the law works. And so I appreciate you bearing with us. Director Plot.
Yeah, I can go next. The two things I think I like prioritize most when evaluating candidates is like firstly their like commitment to the community. And I know a lot of you have like shown that you've been very involved with the community and very committed to it. I mean, Antonio, like you've already worked for the CSD, which is great. And then Esteban, you've been here for a long time, obviously, and I see you like at almost every meeting, and so it shows you have like a deep commitment to IVCSD, and you're very involved with the community. And then Catherine, like your work with Limon, I think shows that you are very like you understand what's happening, and like Spencer said, you would be able to hit the ground running. And also like I really liked when you were talking about how much you loved IV and like the specific things about your dog, like liking the community gardens and talking about how you feel like so at home here. I think those are great things to look for in a candidate. And like also the fact that like you are going to grad school here, so you're going to be here for a long run, which is similar for a lot of other candidates as well. And the other thing that I like looked at a lot was like leadership potential. And I think Byron showed a lot of that with his work with Model United Nations, like as president. And you also talked about the storming the dorms campaign and registering all those voters, and you're dealing with volunteer work. And I think that was like very impressive, like talking about registering people to vote. Like, I mean, Spencer, I didn't even know what Spencer said just now about how impressive UCSB has been in terms of registering people to vote. And it seems like a lot of that credit goes to you, which is great. And Johnny, you also like, or Antonio, sorry, first I'll go to Antonio. Antonio, you also showed your leadership through the chief operations officer in the build the rocket, Gaucho rocket project. That seems very interesting. I also think it would be great to have somebody with like a more diverse skill set. I think a lot of us are poli-sci majors. A lot of people who applied are very interested in poli-sci and environmental stuff. So hearing your like interest in physics and that stuff, I think that would bring a diverse perspective to the board. And Johnny, your work like canvassing, like that is like such an essential skill, I feel like. And you've already shown that you're very on top of that. And like you pointed out something that I resonated with me when you talked about you've heard people advocate for tenants starting a tenants union without realizing there already is a tenants union, which I think is a problem that we need to deal with. Like just the recognizing people need to understand that IVCSD exists, what IVCSD has to offer, and how to collaborate with IVCSD. And so identifying that problem from the start is a great, and I also appreciated what you said about like creating harmony with law enforcement and citizens. I think that's a great goal to have, because I think that would help our community grow stronger together. I think that's about it.
Any other thoughts, either in person or online?
Could I go?
Go ahead, Director Cephas.
I just want to echo the ideas that all of you are just like so qualified for this, and that all of your like commitment and work in the community is so admirable. And I think all of you have very, very different, unique qualifications that would contribute to the board in a very different ways. Sorry. But I think Catherine definitely spoke out to me just because she was very vocal about meeting the community members where they are rather than coming to us, which I think has been a problem, not just in IV, but across the country and like local politics that I've seen. And I also think it'd be really interesting to have a like grad student perspective, which I don't think I really wouldn't know, but I don't think we've ever really had. I think she's in this like very unique balance where she's working with the school, but also like teaching students, provides this like much more different outreach that like a lot of us could get to, but like a TA talking to you about something is very much different than like a professor or another student talking to you. And I think we definitely do need to look for long-term candidates, just because we had that with Jay, and his like he was so valuable and like had worked for the IVCSD and worked with them for so long. And I think it's gonna be like near impossible to replace him. But yeah, that's who I would like to advocate for.
Thank you, Director Sebos. Director Hobart.
Throughout the process of hearing all these interviews, I feel like everybody has displayed a lot of leadership and a lot of investment in Isla Vista or UCSB as well. So that to me was a really great sign from everybody. And I think that some things that stuck out to me were that, you know, more diverse or like different perspective coming from a grad student or like Esteban, like people that have been here a little bit longer, people that have experienced this area a little bit more, because I do think that while, you know, the undergrad student perspectives are amazing and I'm very happy to be on this board and be serving with other undergrad students, I think that what Jay brought as a more long-term resident is something that's very valuable. And I think is something that's very important long-term, especially even just for logistics of meeting quorum and things like that during summer break when a lot of students are home. So I think that that's really nice to see some people from different backgrounds here as well, but everybody just did amazing. So it's hard to try to figure out.
Okay, thank you, Director Hobart.
Sure. I also was so impressed with our candidates and very grateful that you're interested and very interested in hearing what you're doing at UCSB. And then, of course, Esteban, you have been such a regular attendee here. And I think that over time, we've really gotten a sense of your character and, you know, just the purity of your heart and your spirit has been so nice to have in the room. And then Catherine, I think you're very impressive in terms of what you've accomplished and your energy, and then also how connected you are and how intimately you've seen how to get things done politically. Because I know that we still struggle with not having enough respect for Isla Vista in many of the governmental agencies that we have to interact with. And it's been a source of frustration for decades now. And so I think for me, I'm particularly interested in having those external connections be stronger and be more beneficial to Isla Vista. So your candidacy was exciting to me for that reason. And then, as has been said, we have 3 undergraduate students on the board right now, and it is a scheduling problem. We've already had to cancel some meetings because we couldn't get everybody in the room at the same time. And, you know, you saw tonight we were late getting the meeting started because we couldn't achieve a quorum. So that's kind of a nuts and bolts kind of problem.
I know
for us.
I was late. You don't need to rub it in.
But they're there, that's really the problem. So those are my comments.
Thank you for those comments, Director Toplin. So with that, I don't know if we have any other comments to make. And so our process is such that if we're going to go to a vote, the voting is not a normal yes, no, abstain vote. We're going to vote for a name that we want as our first choice. And then if a singular name gets to a majority, then that is the point at which we would actually make a motion and then vote on it. But if we don't have a majority, then there is this exhaustive balloting process that I will explain if we have to get to. And I think Jonathan might have like a calculator that will help us with that if we have to get there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just like a tracker.
Oh.
Somebody nominate.
We don't have to, no math, no math.
Yeah, so we're gonna rank our choices, but what we want to do is or maybe that would be helpful if we want to rank our top 3. Is it?
No, you just say the name you want.
We just say the name
And
we
then
want. Okay.
if someone gets it, they get it. And if no one gets it, then you go to the next round.
Okay. Go ahead.
If I could start, I mean, I think the person I would nominate would be Catherine. I think that your community engagement and just like what you talked about with the community, it showed like you're very passionate about Isla Vista, and also then your work with Limon shows that you like have the knowledge and you would be able to hit the ground running. And you're going to be here for a long time with the grad program and offering different perspectives to the grad program. And I think all these are very valuable. So I think that you would be my first choice.
Okay. We got a first choice for Catherine, although last just says the chair. Go ahead,
I'm gonna pick Catherine for my first choice too.
Director Deschler.
Okay. So I didn't offer comments, so I'm gonna say something. a
Oh,
little-
go ahead. That's fine.
I didn't offer comments on all of you, but I won't now because I don't want to take up too much time, but when I was thinking about the priorities for this board in terms of balance, to me, it felt important that we have someone who is not an undergraduate student because of the quorum issue, as you mentioned, and also someone who represented a different demographic in our community. And so I have two top choices based upon that qualification, those qualifications. And so my first choice is going to be Esteban.
Okay. And then Director Hobart.
My first choice is Catherine.
And Director Cepos.
My first choice is also Catherine.
Okay. And then I will vote last, and my first choice is also Catherine. So I believe at this point, we don't have to go to the exhaustive ballot.
No, you just
At
have
this
to make a
point,
motion to ratify.
I will ask for a motion from a member of the board.
I'll make that motion.
Go ahead.
Did I? Okay, I'll make the motion.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I'll second it.
To appoint Catherine as our
Sorry.
And seconded by Palat. Okay, and before I forget, I should go to public comment. Is there any public comment? Got to hear a lot of our folks in the public, so I'll bring it back to the board and let's go to a roll call vote.
Director Brandt,
Yes.
Director Palat,
Yes.
Director Deschler,
Yes.
Director Topliff,
Yes.
Director Hobart,
Yes.
Director Cepos.
Yes.
Okay, congratulations, Catherine Carmichael, new board of directors member. And I believe we have the oath of office.
It's in the office. I have to go grab it. Thank you.
Pizza is available to the public.
Move over.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all for all your good work. Thank you. Yeah.
I'll see you in the fall, Spencer.
Yes.
One more time.
There might be some in the cover guide.
Alex and Matt, you guys joined us. Wait, which?
I think those in the corner. Okay, and for those online, we're in recess for like.
Let's recess for a half hour.
3 to 4 minutes.
No, I'm teasing. I'm teasing. I only did that for the chief.
You gotta be careful. You're on the ice.
Yeah, right, anywhere there, yes.
It came out at 4 o'clock. I had to get out of memo.
I get it.
I'm literally, John, like, for seeing you send memo to the chancellor, the senior leadership on the budget agreement.
I got you.
I'm so sorry. I should have said something while I was.
No, it's okay. This is just, it's like, everything worked out great.
Yeah,
Now that we have someone appointed or about to, when we sign the oath of office. But if we didn't make the appointment today, we would just, like, it would go. Because Edward is about to leave China. And-
No, I was gonna make it. I just.
One's at Rise.
No, it's okay. We did it. Everything worked out great.
Oh, my.
Thank you for being patient. This is
Oh,
Part of the governmental process
Yeah.
is right.
Hey,
We should have,
Catherine, you ready to be?
Yeah, I'm ready.
we should have gotten everybody's email before they left, so we want to make sure they're all volunteers for us.
We have the emails.
I was teasing.
Okay, we are, we're missing Carrie.
Should I move here after that?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you know that you were gonna be put to work right away?
I was hoping, I saw there was some future agenda items.
Oh, goodness.
I know that the last appointment, that was the last item on the agenda, so.
It was a special meeting, that one, but.
Are we off camera or on camera?
We're and I believe we have the oath of office to administer.
Okay, and we're gonna just do it, I'll read it, and then you'll say, I do. Or raise your right.
Can we get a picture, please? Okay.
Yes.
It's the PI on you.
It
What
is.
can I say?
Start like this.
Yes, so I state your name.
I, Catherine Carmichael,
Do solemnly swear that I will, oh, I'm gonna just read it all.
Go for it.
Yeah. Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California. That I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter. Say I do.
I do.
You're in.
Awesome.
That's what I was thinking the first time.
Oh, dear me. Oh, the dear. I love how like color coordinated and you got this. Very sweet.
Who's good for, who's getting good? Well, you went through two. It's only as awkward as you
Are you doing that?
Congratulations.
I know.
Thank you. It's okay. I've done more awkward things.
No, there, I think the one where we pointed out okay, so with that, are we reconvening back online? I'm not seeing
Yes.
humans.
I guess their videos are not there, but
Director Sipos, Director Hobart.
I'm here.
All right. So we are gonna move to 2.3 board committee selection. And I believe that we have a number of vacancies on committees that are critical due to the departure of Director Freeman. Jonathan, can you go
yes,
over that?
I'll pull this up right now. Mainly it's our, sorry, let me just.
Go ahead.
So we have our policy committee. We are now missing Director Freeman. And we have also our soon-to-be parking committee. You know, it's in the air right now, but he was serving on that. It's something we're going to bring back to the board to be reformed in August, but we can get interest for it now. So it's policy committee and parking that are the two open areas. And we also have our property negotiations team that he's coming off of, and our UCSB contribution negotiation team concluded its work. So we don't need somebody for that anymore.
Okay, so
so it's policy and parking.
Policy and parking. So in order to make this easy, well, I want to first ask the existing board if anyone is itching to be on policy and parking. Because a part of me is tempted to just say if Catherine is interested in taking on Director Freeman's assignments, that's the easiest way to do it. But I want to defer to our board members to see if anyone
Who's on those committees? I'm so scared to ask this.
You're on the
I thought so.
policy. Director Platt's on policy, and then
volunteer.
Okay.
for parking, we don't have it yet, so we're just getting interest. Director Brandon Plott had been interested when we last talked about it, but we haven't formed this new committee yet. But we will very soon.
I'd like to stay on policy and I'd like to not do parking, but also I will be involved in parking through UCSB.
I'm still interested in parking.
And I'm still interested as well, but since it sounds like we don't really have the mission together yet, it sounds like that's a deferred decision.
It's something we're gonna bring. We do have the mission pretty much. It's gonna be the parking commission that will be running the parking district. It will be essentially our parking committee. So that will be the group that manages the day-to-day of the parking program in the future. So, and they will set the rules and everything. So it's gonna come back probably in August, if not the first meeting in September.
Well, I would say then let's defer the decision to when it comes back to us to not be preempted. And unless, is anyone, Director Sipos or Hobart, have a burning desire to be on policy committee?
I can if no one wants to be, but like I don't need to.
Okay, and I think you'd indicated you're interested, so, okay. With that, then I'm gonna appoint Director Carmichael to the policy committee, and we'll bring back parking for a later time. Okay. That is our last.
Wait, what about food co-op?
Oh, yeah, I don't know if we need that ad hoc committee anymore. I think
Has it concluded its mission?
it set up the program, so I think so. We can't have the ad hocs go on too long.
Yeah, they have to be time limited to
Yeah.
solve a problem and then they go away.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, then with that, we're gonna close the board appointment section and move to the consent agenda. This is a chance where these items will all be bundled and voted on. Directors have items that they'd like to pull from the consent agenda. I am not seeing any, so I will entertain a motion.
I'll move the consent agenda items.
Okay, we have a motion from Deschler. Is there a second?
I second.
Seconded by Carmichael. Any public comment on the consent agenda? Seeing none, we'll go to a roll call vote.
Director Brandt,
Yes.
Director Plot,
Yes.
Director Deschler,
Yes.
Director Carmichael.
Aye.
Dr. Topliff,
Yes.
Director Hobart,
Yes.
Director Sipos.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. We're going to move to the public comment period. This is the time for any member of the public to speak on any matter within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board of directors that is not on today's agenda. The board will not take action on any item not on the agenda except as provided by law. Any general public comments?
I have one that was emailed in.
Okay, anything in person? Not seeing any, so close it there. Anything on Zoom? Okay, go ahead and read the email.
Okay, this is from Kimberly Kiefer, General Manager of the Park and Rec District, and it's for Jay. Thank you to Director Jay Freeman for your tireless efforts and work to engage with the Isla Vista community at large for decades. I've only known and worked with you for 5 short years, but in the time frame, I have learned a lot about the current Isla Vista history, culture, and politics of Santa Barbara County at large. I have been so impressed with your communication and time that you have taken to discuss and explain mechanics, including everything from LAFCO to USB cords and how to troubleshoot that darn can do. We are so fortunate to have a leader like yourself who truly understood the dynamic of our work with Parks and Recreation and interface with the district you served. You will be missed. Congratulations to the new chapter. With gratitude, Kimberly.
Excellent. Thank you for the comment. Okay, and seeing no others, we'll close the public comment period and move to first item, resolution 25-13, honoring the service of Chief Alex Yao. And we have a resolution there, and I will go ahead and read it out. And then we'll present it to you. Give me just a second to pull that.
Are we gonna alternate?
We can do that if everyone's got it pulled up. Feel free to go ahead and begin.
All right. Whereas UCSB Police Chief Alex Yao was appointed Chief of Police in 2020 and has served in the role for 5 years, and
whereas Chief Yao has spent over 30 years of his career in law enforcement, working for safer communities, and
whereas Chief Yao started his career while at 21 years old, while an undergraduate, student volunteer, and community services officer in Berkeley, California, and continued to serve student communities throughout his career. And
whereas Chief Yao led the UC Santa Barbara Police Department during the transition from the COVID-19 pandemic back to in-person activities on campus and back to a fully populated Isla Vista. And
online or show? Oh, I got it. Oh, yeah. Whereas Chief Yao continued UCSB Police Department's contracts with the Isla Vista Community Services District, collaborating to enhance the Isla Vista Safety Station Student Safety Partner Program and supporting the Interpersonal Violence Investigation Program. And
whereas during his time with UCSB PD, Chief Yao deepened the department's engagement with the community, participating in meetings, forums, and town halls, building trust with residents, and
Whereas Chief Yao could always be counted on for his cheerful presence, ability to lead with a calm and steady hand. Now, therefore, the Board of Directors of the Isla Vista Community Service District hereby resolves the Isla Vista Community Services District Board of Directors honors and thanks Chief Yao for his outstanding service to the Isla Vista community and wishes him well in retirement. Passing it up to today. Fact that we can go ahead and present to you as well.
Picture.
Before we do,
Oh, no.
This way.
Oh, that looks so good.
Yay.
Yay, that looks
okay,
awesome.
now Carrie, come back over here. We'll do one. Thank you.
Are we gonna do one with everybody?
Mhm.
Oh, good.
Congratulations. We're
Face the
turn
camera.
around. Yeah, I don't.
Good job.
Good call.
Congratulations. Say IV.
Okay, yay.
Thank you very much for the partnership.
Oh,
Thank you.
Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
oh,
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
We need to vote.
Okay, can I get a motion for the resolution?
I'll move adoption of resolution.
Made by Topliff, is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Palat. Let's do a roll call vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Or, sorry, we gotta do roll call.
we're all screwed up.
Sounds good. Call the roll.
I was looking at a text message. Director Brandt,
Yes.
Director Palat,
Yes.
Director Dashler,
Yes.
Director Topliff,
Yes.
Director Hobart,
Yes.
Director Seapost,
Yes.
Director Carmichael.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. And with
That was very sweet, by the way.
We lost into the parking lot for a second, but I just really have appreciated our relationship with Chief Yao over the years as someone who's very collaborative, that I think cares about a lot of the values of trying to make the work more restorative, more community oriented. And I'm bummed to see him go, but I'm also excited to know that at least in the interim, there'll be someone like Lieutenant Bly, who's now the interim chief, that will continue to have our partnerships with. We've got two really important programs for the UCPD that we'll talk about in just a couple minutes. So those are just my comments. And with that, we will move to next on the agenda, recognizing IVCSD interns.
And we had a lot of people who worked for us for 2 to 3 years who are UCSB students and interns at our organization who finished their term recently. And so I just want to see if our staff wants to give any shout outs to our departing IVCSD interns who, did a great job and left. I think they had a great experience, but you guys can talk about them a little bit.
Yeah, Kate and Alicia just graduated and left Isla Vista. They were two of my very first Isla Vista Beautiful employees. So I definitely, this program and just the Public Works and Sustainability Department in general would be nothing without them, because they were so extremely patient when because things didn't stay the same as they were in the beginning. They changed and evolved as we perfected our operations, and they were integral in telling me what worked and what didn't. So I'm extremely appreciative of them. And then Leo also graduated as well, and I didn't even realize, I mean, he's been with me for like 3 years, or no, maybe 2 or something, but a while as well. And just lost some great employees.
And I had the pleasure with working our intern Chloe this past
quarter. And although it was a brief time, she made a huge impact on our department, helped us out so much by canvassing to get the Ivy Food Co-op program off the ground, to helping weekly emails with some of our volunteers, helping us train them. So she was really a big part of being out in the community and also just helping with the maintenance of our program. So Chloe was a great partner, and we were so lucky to have her for this past quarter. And I will let you talk about how incredible David is, although we all had the opportunity of working with his brilliant brain.
David was our data analyst intern. This is his last week with us, and I am utilizing all of the time that we possibly can to get some of our dashboards and some really cool projects that we've never had the opportunity to do before. Frankly, that is not a part of my brain that even works in the way that his brain works. It's phenomenal what he is capable of and what he put together for the district. And he did it in a way that we can use it for many years to come. And the new intern that comes in that role will be able to kind of take what he did and run with it. So shout out to him and just all of his brilliance, and very grateful.
And also to Anne Sophie, who worked with the Compost Collective for a while. Obviously, unfortunately, since I came into my role not too long ago, I didn't get the privilege of working too closely with her, but I've heard nothing but great things, and we're very sad to lose her as well.
Well, it's really awesome to hear about all the contributions. We get like little nuggets and pieces of their work product. I know we saw a lot from David when we did a lot of all the programs that they were involved in. And then especially with everyone on IVB, this was like their big time to shine this last couple of weeks. Just with the community center, it's always the community center's time to shine. So it's so awesome. And I know they can't be here with us in person, but please share our immense gratitude to all the work that they've done.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. Seeing no other comments.
I have a comment.
Oh, go ahead.
I just want to say it's a big thing to run an internship program. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And what you all do as professional staff is really tremendous, because you're really giving a gift to young people who are just entering into and thinking about professional world. And so I just, having been involved in that a little bit, managing people is super tough. Managing students, I imagine, is much harder. And so I just want to acknowledge all of you for the work that you do in providing that avenue and opportunity for our students to have that experience. So thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other comments from the board? All right, seeing none, thank you again for all your work and all their work. And we'll move to the last resolution that we have, which is resolution 25-14, honoring the service of Fiona Salsich. And I will start reading this one regretfully. Whereas Fiona Salsich has served as the Isla Vista Community Services District and Isla Vista community with outstanding dedication, creativity, and heart across multiple roles and years of service. And
whereas most recently, Fiona served as the Community Engagement Project Manager, where she led creative outreach strategies that deepened resident engagement and elevated the district's presence, impact, and visibility. And
whereas Fiona used a visionary lens to public outreach, bringing heart, creativity, and purpose to every initiative, and helping shape a more connected and informed community through accessible and inclusive engagement. And
whereas Fiona has been a core contributor to the district's most impactful initiatives, including the Isla Vista Mobility Plan, Spring Festival, Civic Leaders Initiative, and the Community Ambassador Program, as well as helping to shape the district's public image through thoughtful branding, engaging storytelling, and consistently beautiful content that reflects the heart of Isla Vista across all our unique programs. And
whereas previously Fiona served as the Isla Vista Mobility Plan Coordinator from March 2020 through 2023, leading a community-centered planning process where she engaged hundreds of residents and partners, helping shape the future of transportation and parking in Isla Vista. And
whereas before that, Fiona also served in the role of Dirt Rider from January 2020 to June 2022, building community pride and environmental stewardship through her work maintaining public spaces and building up the Compost Collective program. And
whereas Fiona is known for her exceptional creativity, kind spirit, and collaborative nature, always infusing her work with joy, purpose, and a genuine love for the community. And
whereas Fiona is a surfer, traveler, and compassionate friend who has been a beloved colleague and inspiring team member, and whose legacy in Isla Vista will be felt for years to come. And
now, therefore, the Board of Directors of the Isla Vista Community Services District hereby resolves as follows.
Sorry. Wait. Oh, sorry. Yeah. The Isla Vista Community Services Board of Directors hereby expresses its deepest appreciation to Fiona for her exemplary and multifaceted service to the district and the Isla Vista community, and wishes her continued success, waves, joy, and travels full of adventure in her next chapter.
can I get a motion to adopt?
I'll move to adopt the resolution.
Made by Topliff, is there a second?
second,
Seconded by Deschler. Let's do roll call vote.
Dr. Brandt,
Yes.
Dr. Topliff,
Yes.
Dr. Block,
Yes.
Dr. Dashler,
yes.
Dr. Hobart,
Yes.
Dr. Sipos,
Yes.
Dr. Carmichael.
Yes.
Wow. Well, I'm really bummed that this day has come because you
Yeah.
just had such an incredible impact on our organization. I mean, from the work at the Compost Collective to the many hours talking to people about mobility and what would make it easier for around, schlepping it out there in the arbor, talking to people, knocking on doors, to the continued work that you've done over this past year, just making our communications really like top notch. I just think like the impact that, I mean, that we each have individually all comes together as a whole, and the whole of the impact that you contribute to is immense. I mean, we're talking about what will, in the grand scheme of things, be millions of dollars that are brought into our community to help address some of these mobility challenges, because you did such a good job that we're getting awards for it, and awards for excellence in communications and doing the plan, and also grant awards, which is really incredible. So I just really thank you. Just, you were so inspired by the Isla Vista spirit and such a good representation of the best parts of our community, and we're so bummed to lose you.
Thank you so much, Spencer.
Any other thoughts from the board?
I think the resolution says it all. It's so beautifully written.
It is. Yeah, I agree. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fiona.
Thank you,
Can
Fiona.
I say something?
Yes.
Is that
Please
the
go
right
ahead,
time?
yes.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm so sad to leave. I'm like trying not to get emotional, but everyone here just means so much to me. I don't know how I'll ever find a better job than this one, but I don't know if it'll ever be topped. And the people here like really make this job so special. I think the 2 words to describe our relationship with one another is just, well, love, and 3 words, I guess: love, respect, and trust. Like, everyone respects each other so much. Everyone trusts each other's opinions and professional capabilities, and we all love each other so much. And it's so special to work here. Yeah, I'm really thankful for this opportunity.
And I think we've got a copy of it for you. You want to take a quick picture?
Yeah.
Maybe everyone can be in the picture.
Where should we stand? Just right there?
The mural.
Oh, yeah.
Here, I'll move this.
Thanks, Spencer.
Okay.
Yeah, you need to be right here. Yeah. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. I love it. It's amazing.
Can we open public comment first?
Yes. Okay, we're gonna open public comment. I think we've
I
got
just
one.
want to say that Fiona has been a pleasure to work with. from back in the day at Compost Collective and throughout all her roles here. And if you want to see, didn't you do the outline for the mural at St. Mike's? So if you want to see her legacy, it's still there.
Yeah.
She drew the outline for the mural and then the volunteers colored it in.
Yeah, I did
that'll
the
be
like
there.
flora fauna one with
Yeah.
the plants and the animals and stuff.
Mhm.
So thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah, and good luck on, wherever your journey takes you.
Thank you.
I hope you come visit.
I will. I have a feeling I'll definitely be back.
Go ahead.
I just want to say that working with you has been amazing and just so much fun. Every time we get to call to collaborate on something, it's just so fun to be creative with you. And you think of things that I would have never thought about, which is why I'm not in your position. You've completely elevated us as a community services district. I've gotten a lot of compliments about Move Out, but a lot of them are like, I think your outreach worked really well. Your outreach, and I agree. Like, I think the first year I might have said a few things in stone, but you absolutely brought everything to such a greater level.
Thank you.
Thank you. You made a huge difference.
Thank you so much.
I will make a small comment because we worked on the resolution. So a lot of what we want to say is already there, but I always go to Fiona because I always say like, oh, we need some Fiona magic on this. We need Fiona to look at this. We need Fiona's brain to think about this. And everything she touches, we tell her it turns to gold. Not only is it beautiful, but it's creative and you can tell all the heart and soul and love you put into everything. And obviously my waterfall, like I'm definitely gonna miss you so much. You're so special to me. So thank you for being me.
Fiona is one of our longest employees,
Yeah.
4 years at this
Wow.
point. So that's a big accomplishment that we've been able to have you work, get so much done for us. So the resolution said it so much, but I think what stands out to me, Fiona, was just like you have a deep understanding of Isla Vista, and so it made it easy to share things with you, like we need to do X. You already knew a lot of the factors that were involved in that, and so that's important in community engagement because you already knew the community. And I really like that you just worked our work system so well. You really got it, how we plan out work every month and everything. I think you plugged into it immediately when you started. And that was awesome. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you all.
I have to say something. Well, I left it all in the resolution, but I just want to say your heart and your soul is going to be forever missed on our team. And I just have a deep, deep gratitude for everything that you are and who you are. And so thank you. And I'm just going to really miss you.
Thank you, Sydney. I'll miss you all so much.
And we'll miss you too. Keep looking at our website for job openings in the future because we reeled you back in once before.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, right when I came back from my trip, this job that I have now opened and Maya told me about it. So fingers crossed, maybe. I know the stars will align in some fashion, but I hope that it's here. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you just for everything that you've done for us.
Thank you.
Okay, so with that, we are going to move. We had scheduled 2 annual reports from UCPD, but I think we had a hiccup and there won't be presenters for those items.
Not today.
So we're going to delay those items to a future board meeting. And we're going to move to item 5.6, salary and wage schedule economic adjustment.
Okay, so this is the annual decision that we need to make based on our policy. And the policy is linked in here, and so is our LA CPI, Consumer Price Index, which is what we tag to, but it's not what we use hard and fast. But based on the Finance Committee discussions and the past board discussions, we are recommending a 3% economic adjustment to all positions in the district wage and salary schedule beginning July 1st, 2025. So as a reminder, the COLA, it reaches our employees, but it's not for individuals, it's for the position ranges themselves. So whatever step they are on our system is what what their new, that would get applied 3% to, and then that'll be their new salary on July 1st. So the cost for this is about $33,000 to the district for our permanent employees, our full-time staff, and our temporary employees as well.
Okay, thank you for that report, Jonathan. Any questions from the board? Any questions online? Sorry, it's harder for me to see you guys with the screen share, so I see no from Annabelle. Okay. Seeing as no questions, we want to go to deliberation. Any thoughts? Go ahead.
Well, I'd just like to point out that we have discussed this extensively at the finance committee meeting and acknowledge that, this is going to cost us some money. And we were unanimous in feeling like this is how we want to spend our money, and that we want to make sure that our employees feel our care for them and our acknowledgement of the economic situations that they face with rising costs, and that we're committed to making this COLA this year.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I would echo that sentiment. I think these are important investments to make given just the economic conditions that we have in not just Santa Barbara County, but throughout the United States right now. And so, our employees are in an interesting place because they're unrepresented. So a lot of these decisions would usually be a part of collective bargaining, but they're not in this case. They come to us, and so I think that this is the right thing to do to continue as we have in some years past, providing the cost of living adjustment. Any other thoughts or questions from the board? Any public comment on this item? Anything on Zoom, Jonathan? No.
I'd like to make a comment.
Go ahead.
I think this is important to do. We've heard today just how important our staff is to the work of the IVCSD. And it is definitely a choice that has to be made every year. And I think this year doesn't feel like it's a tough choice, but I do worry about in future years when we will have to make tough choices between programming and staff wage increases and COLAs. So just putting it out there that we might have more difficult decisions coming.
Yeah, if I may, I agree with you. Everyone knows stuff's hard. And the organization is as best as the people are, and the best asset of the CSD. But certainly as, economic times perhaps get even harder and harder in future years, we might have to have a little bit closer look at the budget just to see how we can increase revenue or get more money from the county or something, because I don't want to have to start potentially devaluing employees in the future, if who knows where times are going to go.
Yeah, I really appreciate that point, Director Carmichael. As our next item, when we talk about the budget, we will talk about the belt tightening that the committee is recommending. And one of the things that the committee discussed as well is along those lines of what are our options to raise revenue. And we feel like our team has really gone above and beyond to try to do that through their programs, through fees that people are paying at the community center, and the compost collective sales. So what is the next step in terms of raising revenue and asking the voters to invest more in these programs? Okay, seeing no other comments, can I get a motion from the board?
I'll make the motion that we adopt the COLA schedule of 3% for our staff.
Okay, motion made by Topliff. Is there a second?
I second.
Seconded by Carmichael. Did public comment? Let's do roll call vote.
Director Brent?
Yes.
Director Plott?
Yes.
Director Deschler?
Yes.
Director Topliff?
Yes.
Director Sipos?
Yes.
Director Hobart?
Yes.
Director Carmichael?
Yes.
All right, motion passes. And now we are going to move to the fiscal year 25-26 preliminary budget, which Jonathan is going to introduce. And just for the public's clarity, Jonathan, can you also kind of start by just talking about the difference between the preliminary budget and the final adopted budget? So
That's my first slide.
All right, You're way ahead of me. Please proceed.
Okay, so we do approve the preliminary budget today so that we can spend money on July 1st, because that's when our new fiscal year starts. But we do our final budget on August 12th so that we have time to finalize all the numbers. We don't have our final expenses and revenues for this year yet. We won't even know until July 20th at the earliest what our revenues are for this year, because that's when our taxes come in from June. So this is a preliminary budget for that reason. And then it has a lot of the features of the final budget, but the final budget will be more fine-tuned, and there'll be more involved in that in August. So that's our split. And then our summary, these are the main three numbers you need to know if you don't want to know more than three. It's our revenues are, about 1.7 million. Our expenses are about 1.9 million, and our deficit this year is 149,000, which is smaller than what we projected by $100,000. So we had thought we were going to hit a bigger deficit this year when we were doing our projections back in our retreat in April. So this is good news. We're going in the right direction. A lot of it was the finance committees. We did our zero-based budget where we were meticulous on every dollar spent, and the utility tax evened out better than expected. It's landing in a better place than we projected. So those are the two reasons for that deficit, but it is better than it was originally projected to be. And this year's deficit is also, it's in a different place than we expected it to be, but in some ways it's better than we projected. However, it's larger because of the interpersonal violence investigator cost. Anyways, revenue summary, we have 1.4 million in utility user tax, $200,000 from UCSB. Our reservations at the community spaces bring in $30,000. Our sales at the move-in sale and our compost sales and our bucket rentals, all the different things we do are 5,000, and our sponsorships for our festivals bring in about 5,000. And grants is an aspirational one. We haven't put anything in there for that, but it was in our retreat discussion that we wanted to go after more grants, but we don't have a number in here. But for example, this year we got an $8,000 grant right at the end of the year unplanned from the AS. So grants can come in, and we do pursue them pretty actively. This is just a pie chart, just the visual that the utility user tax, we live and die by it. It is 84% of our revenue, and the UCSB contribution is next in line. And then the rest are much smaller sources of revenue, but it's still important, but smaller. Then expenses. This is the breakdown of expenses. Our non-operational costs are 2/3 of our budget, or over 2/3 of our budget. Then our operational costs would still do direct services. For example, like Sydney works on the housing mediation program or runs it, is 34% of our costs. So community programs is the biggest program. That's our community spaces, our festivals, and then our public works and sustainability is second. And then by object level, this is like on the big picture level, our salaries are $1.2 million, and our services and contracts and other supplies are $600,000. And our insurance is $75,000, becoming a bigger percent of our budget every year. Operations, what's covered in our operational budget, our board pay, our assistant general manager and general manager pay, our government administration intern, our accountant, our district council, our insurance, our administrative, software and other things we need to run the district, training, and then office costs. That's $654,000. And this is how it breaks up. Staff is 76% of the operations, and then our administrative costs are 16%, and that's mainly the insurance is most of it. Community programs and engagement, $610,000. That's our 3 full-time staff in that area, our director and our 2 project managers, an intern, a contract event support staff, all our marketing funds, our leadership initiatives and our volunteer initiatives, our festivals, our free community classes and events, our garden, and our health and safety vending machine. And this is how it breaks up within this department. Community engagement is the biggest. community spaces, and then festivals. Those are the three main areas in this department. Public Works, Sustainability, we have our Public Works Director, our Waste Diversion Program Manager, and our Compost Operations Project Manager. We have multiple crews in this area. We have our beautification crew, composting crew, move out crew, our different contractors for things like power washing, our two distribution programs, which are free lighting and trees for public purposes, and then our bike fleet maintenance and storage, our two electric e-bike wagon that need to be maintained. And this is how it breaks up here. Beautification is the biggest focus, followed by composting, and then move out as the three main areas. And then housing, smaller budget, $21,000. Our mediators is the main spend, and then we also have legal advice and marketing for that program. And then finally, safety is only one program funded, which is 3 safety stations for $100,000, and then our IV Safe budget to host those quarterly meetings. Lunch is provided. And then our fund balance. So we're going to be needing to use $150,000 from our undesignated reserves, which will go down to 0 by the end of June 26, and then partially $60,000 from our strategic reserve, which is what it's there for. And then we are confirming that we still do have $250,000 in our reserves for operations for parking, and then $50,000 for parking capital startup costs. So with $300,000 in our fund balance still for the parking program to get started up. This is a big chart with a lot of numbers, so we can skip that. And this is the main to look at is this is the growth of our fund balance, and then it's decreased, but you'll still see it's still very in a comfortable position at 1.6 million in June 2026. It's currently projected to end this year 1.8 million. And that's it. That's our proposed budget. Attached are all the technical documents, line item by line item, but I thought this might be an easier way to present it. But all the nuts and bolts are in the attachments.
Thank you for the presentation. Questions from the board? Director Dashler?
Can you tell me on the community programs and engagement budget, survivor resource 1.6%? What is that?
Yes, so basically it's 2 things. It's rent for the survivor resource room that we have upstairs here that we've been doing that since 2018. So that's part of it. And then the other part is $1,200 for quarterly events we have for survivors that we work with other groups like Thrive, UCSB. It's the UCSB group to host those. So it's 2 activities. This is one of the areas where we do have work to do to figure out a new budget for, and that's going to be one of the jobs this summer. Is that was something we discussed when we talked about the interpersonal violence investigator position not being continued to be funded. We wanted to look into other things we can fund that are preventative for sexual assault and interpersonal violence. So that's what it is now. It's the room we provide to STESA to meet with survivors and counsel them at our space, and the quarterly events. And then we're going to be looking at changing that in the future.
And that wouldn't go under safety?
It could go under both. I mean, Maya does run this area, so it does fall under this. But one of the things we put in like our strategic plan is that our community programs is our public safety initiatives. A lot of these are public safety, like community engagement is public safety, our event spaces, nighttime events, our festivals. So they are kind of our safety things anyways.
I loved your presentation. It's so much.
Make it easier.
It was so much better than looking at the Excel.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, I meant to pull this up when I was answering.
We look at the little numbers on your behalf.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate the dumb down.
Happy to help.
Yeah, I agree. Excellent presentation. Yeah. Can you go back to the slide that's the fund balance? I had a question about that. I think hopefully we'll make it more clear for
this one.
Yes. Yeah. This will make it more clear both for the public and for the board. So when fund balance, that word makes it appear as if this is like free unrestricted money that we have sitting in our bank account. That's how I hear it. what actually makes up fund balance, and is it restricted?
Yeah, so the fund balance, we have a policy that tells us how much fund balance we should have. And so the first chunk of fund balance is our assigned fund balance, and that's the money that we have voted to say is for a specific purpose, or it was left over from a specific revenue source that it wasn't fully spent. So in the past, we've had the safety stations get a surplus in our fund balance because we didn't, COVID interrupted services, so we had fund balance. That's one example. The mediation program, we got a grant for it in 2018 and we're still spending it. So that's been assigned fund balance. So that's the first chunk of money is, things for specific programs that we've carved out. The next chunk is our strategic reserve. So this is our reserve that we keep 6 months of revenue in the bank in case anything happens, an emergency. When COVID happened, the whole community moved out. That could have really disrupted our revenue. So that's why we have that. It didn't, thankfully. I mean, not significantly, but it could have been much more significant. And now what we're facing with our tax not coming in anymore at the levels it used to, and like revenue degrowth last year. So that's what the strategic reserve is for. Our accumulative capital outlay is our reserve that we use, and that's where like 50,000 for the parking capital is in. But that's what we use for matching funds for a grant, or if we wanted to build anything. We use money from this to match the county to build the shade structure at the community center patio. We put in 50,000, and then we got 200,000 from the federal government. And so that's what that fund is for. We have a self-insurance fund. In case anything comes up, we can draw from that, like a, investigation with our HR complaint investigation sort of thing, or a claim against the district. If, an accident happened with one of our employees in the public or something on the bike, for example. So we'd have we have our insurance. We pay for a lot of money for insurance, but they don't always cover everything. And this is just for us to be safe on top of our other safety. And then finally, we have a capital maintenance of structures and equipment. And this is for like routine fixes to our equipment and structures. So if we had to do something smaller to either, fix the bike, let's say the bike had the motor come out and we had to buy like, $2,000 motor for it, we wouldn't take it out of here.
Thank you for that explanation, because I think that really paints a clear picture that, we don't really have like a slush fund with a bunch of free money lying around. These are all things that are either required by us by law or by insurance that we have, or our best governance practices when it comes to maintenance, when it comes to the previous commitments that the board has made on parking to squirrel money away for the implementation of that. And so I asked the question just because I think that the word fund balance comes with a certain connotation, and you've really helped enlighten how these are all very committed to some extent. Any other questions from the board? Anyone online? I can't tell if you guys have hand raised. Okay, seeing none online, I'll open up public comment on the budget. Any public comments? Anything online, Jonathan?
No.
Okay. Not seeing any public comment, I'll bring it back to the board for any final comments. I'll just say a big thank you to Carrie and Edward for working alongside us on the finance committee to go through each of these line by line and really make sure that we're spending our dollars as efficiently as possible. And I want to say like an extra thank you to our staff. I know not everyone's here, can be here in the room right now, but to Jenna and Maya, Sydney, just everyone that helped prepare the line item by line item breakdown. I think the public should understand, like, every single expense that they spend, they justified in that zero-based budgeting process. And it's not exactly comfortable. And we didn't exactly get to a place where we could fund everything that we would want in an ideal world, because we are in the situation of deficit. But I thought that you really helped us understand things really well. And I hope that we can get to a place as we learn more about our revenue before the final budget. And as we talk more about what a new revenue source would be, where we can get to a place where we do have the funds available to meet these needs, because all the needs that were expressed in the budget process are super important. So thank you for that.
I'll move to adopt the preliminary budget for 25-26.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Topliff, seconded by Palat. Let's do roll call vote.
Director Brent,
Yes.
Palat,
Yes.
Dashler,
Yes.
Topliff,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Seapost,
Yes.
Carmine.
Yes.
All right, motion passes unanimously. Thank you, team. We have a preliminary budget.
Woohoo.
Excellent work.
Amazing.
We are now going to move to item 5.8, parking program update. I believe we've got some big updates.
All right, so we have an update. We had at our retreat said that we wanted to work on a parking compliance program. And so we have been working on designing that. We are nowhere near finished, but we're making a lot of good headway. And we've also been working on the most important thing, which is securing financing for the program, which we should have some good news on very soon. But we wanted to come to the board to give just an update of where we're at. This is a big decision. It's no decisions to make today, but we wanted to make sure we are on the right track, especially because we are going to the Board of Supervisors in early July to discuss where we're at, again, like a check-in, and to appeal for the $300,000 loan and delegation of authority. So we want to be able to give them a sense of what we're thinking, and we needed to talk to our board before we did that. But this is not final, and we are very much still in the design phase, but we are in an important checkpoint today. Sorry, it's not clicking. All right. Recap of why we're doing this. We're continuing work from 20 years ago. The county was working the IV master plan in the 2000s, and that got jammed up with the Coastal Commission because of the parking issue. And so we are continuing that. The work went up until 2015, early 2016, and stopped in anticipation of us being formed. And so we are taking up the mantle of getting this important issue resolved in Isla Vista. We have a lot of transportation and mobility needs that came up in our studies. A lot of pedestrians complained about cars blocking sidewalks, and disability advocates also mentioned that as an issue. Bus stops and bike lanes were also noted as things that were blocked often by cars. And there was a general sense that people wanted to be able to have less car dependency. And then we also have just so much health and safety issues, again, also transportation based, but blocked driveways, dumpsters, fire hydrants, red curbs, loading zones. These are some of the biggest issues we have in Isla Vista with parking. And so they're health and safety based. And so we want to be able to address those. And yeah, we just want to change the behavior and economic calculus of parking your car on the public street. There's almost zero enforcement right now. The Foot Patrol is doing some in their free time, but there's currently very little formal enforcement like you'd see in the city of Santa Barbara or city of Goleta. And the magic number that the parking industry says you want to get to make parking easy and to find for residents and anybody is 85% congestion of the curb. That means like how many of the spots are taken. And we also want to reduce our private vehicle use to lower greenhouse gas emissions. And that's been something we've talked about for many years as well. So our timeline, which is almost exactly on track, was to secure funding and set budget for 25-26. So we're going to get the secure funding hopefully done on July 1st. We're aiming for that date to the Board of Supervisors, but it's not, it could be pushed back slightly. And once that's confirmed, we'll get into the work of setting a budget. In the second half of this year, we're going to be working to finalize our agreements, our MOUs, our partnerships, how it's all going to work between the different agencies. We don't have the authority to tow, for example. That's only with the CHP and law enforcement. So we need to figure out how that's going to work. We need to work with, the county homeless response teams and figure out a partnership there for people living in their car. We need to, work out all of these different operational partnerships. And then we're also going to spend the fall and the summer promoting car alternatives and education to people. Don't bring your car in the first place, talking about the wave, talking about the co-op membership program, So we're gonna spend a lot of time, going to parents in the summer and talking to, giving out possibly fake tickets in the fall of like showing people, hey, this is what's happening. This is the consequences of blocking a fire hydrant. Somebody could not get, services because of that. So we'll do education in the rest of 2025. And then early 26, we'll look to hire staff, get equipment, establish our final policies, and then launch a program in April 2026. And what we're thinking is an in-house program. So we've talked, the different options in the past. Do we contract it out or not? And we're thinking an in-house program in our public works and sustainability department, headed by Jenna, and something like a neighborhood assistance program like they have in San Luis Obispo. And we do 7-day coverage is very important. We'd have 2 to 4 full-time staff dedicated to parking and related activities, but they'd be, writing tickets, identifying other code enforcement issues in the area, managing the tickets. There might be, you have to, the life cycle of a ticket, gets written, but then it has to get paid. Customer service, we'll have a lot of people contacting the district, asking about their ticket, wanting to, maybe complain or appeal, and then reporting the tickets, to the board, to the other agencies we have to give funding from our tickets to. And then also they will be doing outreach and education on car alternatives, including things like if they see somebody's car in their driveway blocking the sidewalk, they might go up to their door and, have a one-on-one conversation about why that's not good for the community as a whole. So we have to, it's not just enforcement. Enforcement's the biggest activity, but we're also going to be doing other things to reach the goal of parking enforcement. It costs about $400,000 a year in direct costs for the first year. That might go down in the future as we even out our parking situation. It might go up. We're not exactly 100% sure, but it would cost about 2 tickets per worker hour to pay off the program, to make it revenue neutral, which would be the only goal we have. We would not want to be making money off this program. That was a big point in our parking action plan, is the goal is to be revenue neutral. And if it ever was more than revenue neutral, we want to figure out a way to designate those funds towards a related benefit, but we're not there yet. And what we're requesting from the county is a $300,000 one-time loan from a specific IV parking mitigation fund. So when the Loop and the Icon Gardens and Plaza Lofts were built 10 years ago or more, they all paid in fees for not building parking. They paid in fees to the county specific for making IV parking better. So this is a pool of money that is for this purpose. We're going to draw a loan from it, and each ticket, as it's like from the first ticket written, it'll repay the loan as a percentage of the ticket. It'll replenish the fund, and then we could hopefully use it for other parking improvements in the future. So we're aiming for July 1st to the county. They will be doing an MOU delegating parking enforcement authority to IVCSD and approving the loan, hopefully. But we are meeting with county supervisors next week and going to answer their questions and hope to be successful at the board of supervisors. But that's where we're at as a check-in right now.
Excellent. Thank you for the presentation. Any questions from the board? Director Toppin.
I'm just wondering, if the money was designated for Isla Vista parking, why would we be asking for a loan instead of a grant?
We were able to only get to the loan to be successful. I think that was the more, successful negotiation ask at this point. We did originally ask for a grant, or that's what we were originally hoping for.
Any other questions from the board?
Oh, I know I have questions. So you mentioned that can I go?
We'll go over here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, so sorry. I just had a short
Order of, I'm calling balls and strikes. Order.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
So I had this question earlier about where the revenue from parking enforcement would go, but since we're hoping this program would be revenue neutral, just kind of pay for itself and have some sort of parking benefit if we make extra.
Yeah, there's been things discussed of what the parking benefit could be. It could be for like mobility improvements. It could be for sidewalk and lighting. It could be for whatever we designate.
Oh, okay, cool. So the revenue neutral part was more of just like an internal goal, not like our hands are tied and it has to be.
It doesn't have to be. And it might not be eventually. If we are successful, it won't be revenue neutral and we would have to subsidize it in the future.
For sure. Thank you for that, Director Dashler.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question. So the expectation is to meet with staff and supervisors next week, and then maybe the following week, it might be on the board agenda?
We've been told probably July 1st, so
July 1st?
next Tuesday.
Next
When we-
Tuesday.
So we're meeting with the supervisors individually on Monday. And so we had reached out already, so we've scheduled meetings.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we'll meet with them on Monday and the vote might be Tuesday. And so this is not final yet. They're still working on the board letter and get everything done. It might become the 8th instead of the 1st, but it's very soon.
Got it. And then could you explain how it would work? So IVCSD would write a ticket for something, then for remittance, it would come back to the IVCSD. So everything would be done internally with the ticket?
Yeah, so here's how it generally will work.
Yeah.
And again, this is like, we still need to work out
Yeah.
the mechanics, but we would find a company that has ticket softwares. So they have like bundles. Like there'll be a software to write the ticket in the field, like an app for the worker to, click the vehicle information in, and then it'll print a ticket, put it on their car. That information will then go to a central database, and we'd then buy a separate program from the same company. This is how they all do it so far, I've learned. That is like the back end ticket management.
Got it.
And so we'd have like a list of all the tickets and all the details, like who are they for, the DMV information. And then we would have to buy another product, which is like a web portal to pay, like a web pay portal. And a lot of cities, do this. So that will then be set, and then people could pay them in person by check, and we're going to be setting that up. And they can pay by phone if they want to call in their credit card number. But a lot of agencies do that. But yeah, let's say they pay online, which would be like 90% of people. They go on the online web portal, they pay that, goes to the company, then they will cut us a check every so often of their ticket revenues. And we have an
Minus their
accounting,
costs.
yes, minus their costs. And then we'd get that. And then we have to take out $12.50 from every ticket and give that to the state, because they use $12.50 from every ticket to pay for like courts, like trial courts and court maintenance funds. So that's where the money for courts comes from, is parking tickets. So that's something we have to, cut off of every ticket and send to the state. And then at that point, if we've got the loan, we would then remit the money back to the county, the rest of it, to pay off our loan. And then in the future, we just keep that rest of the money to fund the program.
Got it. Cool. Another question, do we know the terms and conditions of what the loan would be?
Nothing, we don't have like the document in front of us, but we are thinking that what we've discussed is no time horizon, because we don't want to create like a financial deadline to pay out, to write tickets. We want to pay it as we go. And then so that's the one thing that's our main ask. And the other thing is that, yes, it'll just be a percentage of each ticket will go towards paying off the loan. So those are
Zero
the main,
interest.
Zero interest.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't heard anything about interest, so.
And then my last comment would be that I want to make sure we're being, and I have no doubt that you are, because such a great, thorough presentation here, and I know how much time and effort you're putting into this. I want to make sure that there's the appropriate staff training to deal with this kind of job, this type of interface that's going to happen between enforcing something some things that have not been enforced before. I do worry about confrontation and safety. And so I just want to make sure that Jenna has the support that she needs, and that the people that are being hired have the training and support that they need to be successful and not be put in harm's way.
That's a really good idea. There is a parking conference in the fall.
Of course there is.
So-
Is it in Reno or Lake Tahoe?
I don't know. It's in California. So we'll maybe look at sending someone to that.
Yeah.
And something that's come up in past board meetings that we still need to follow up on is getting professional help in the final design, like from from Julie, our consultant, to do and she might be able to recommend trainings and what we need staff to be skilled in. So it is on our minds.
Lastly, I'll just make a comment that that the city of Goleta has embarked on a program, I think recently, doing parking enforcement in Old Town. And so there might be an opportunity for best practices, since they are a little bit ahead of IVCSD.
Right, I just saw they funded a new parking enforcement officer in their
Yeah.
city budget. So.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you.
Excellent. Questions online?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead.
I have, well, a few questions, but I was wondering, like, for the enforcement, would we be using like automated license plate reading technology, or like the, cars that go around kind of similar to UCSB, or what does that look like?
That's a good question. So it wouldn't be similar to UCSB because what they're doing is they're using the license plate recognition technology to match license plates to parking ticket or to parking passes, and then giving you a ticket if you don't have the match. So that's not going to be the case here, but we will use license plate recognition technology for two things. One is what we did during the study, which is to keep doing data collection of the congestion so we can track success, so we can know, did we get down to 85 yet, or are we getting closer? So that's one thing we do with it. And then the other thing we do with it is, and this is the current thought, it might change in the final design, but we'd have every day, we'd have a worker, one of our student workers probably, ride the bike through every street in Isla Vista with the LPR technology, and it will pick up the 72-hour violations. And then that would flag them for the on-foot enforcement staff to then, they wouldn't have to look for those violations themselves, and it would be done automatically that way. So that's what we would probably use the LPR for.
Awesome. And then I had another question as well. I was wondering, like, for the enforcement and I know that in the original like parking plans and stuff, they had talked about doing like peer-to-peer interaction and doing almost like a warning period with more like education. And I was wondering like if that plan has begun to form as well.
It definitely is. It's not part of the cost of the program here. So the 400,000 is the enforcement and like the education alongside. But what we're gonna do this fall is gonna be the education. So we're gonna be writing like the fake tickets, or we're gonna have different, educational events and online campaigns. So it's not gonna be part of the program necessarily. It's just gonna be something we do for the 6 months ahead of the program. And then the program would start in April. We could still then have a warning period at that point as well, if that's what the board wanted to do. But then you could start writing tickets at that point. But we do plan to start letting people know, not just that parking enforcement is coming, which is, definitely something we want to do, but educating them about the law, the vehicle code, the state law, which you have to know to get your driver's license, just the impacts of their behaviors. Like you've parked in front of the intersection, and that's now blocking someone in a wheelchair from crossing the street. So we will do that kind of stuff for sure, starting the fall. And we just had, like, for example, a team meeting in the internal staff to map out what the outreach is going to be and all the different, activities and things we do to get people's attention. So.
Awesome. And then I just had one last comment, kind of thing, because I just worked on, as you already know, because I've bothered you a lot with questions about this. I just worked on a research project about this for my class. And one of the things that I was really interested in maybe bringing to IVCSD would be like creating informational packets for residents, like working with the management groups like Wolf and Associates, Sierra Properties, those, with like an informational packet that has like bus stops, bike routes, kind of like encouraging alternative modes of transportation. And then also that education aspect where it's like, hey, we also have this parking enforcement program going into effect. And here's all the things that, we're trying to stop in IV. So I was wondering if I just wanted to kind of bring that up to everybody right now, because it's something that I was interested in maybe like implementing into the project. But
can at least give good news. We're already working on that. Exactly. Pretty much. We're working on like a sustainability magazine. So it's like easier to read, like more attractive for someone to like read a magazine than like a, door hanger or something. So we're going to be putting other sustainability actions too, like also couching the parking as part of a bigger, culture change, but for sure talking about transportation and parking as the main topic in that sustainability like magazine, and using it as like an orientation, dropping it off to people. It might be hard to get the property owners this year on board, but I think we do have a plan that we will deliver one of these to every door in IV personally in October.
Awesome. And then maybe somehow getting UCSB involved with the first year students would be good, because that was something I was interested in, is even if it was like talking points for the tour groups, like the that come onto campus that are prospective students, because maybe then parents might say like, don't bring your car. They talked to us about this on the tour. I don't know, but
Yeah, it's on our list. I did talk to the tour guides and gave them the training back in February this year, and they invited us, actually. They wanted us to tell them about IV and how to engage with it. So that's one. And we're trying to get in with orientation this summer, and then also in the fall working to get, we want to get the parents, like you said, as engaged as possible in this. And so they're the ones making the financial decision for most of the cars that exist here.
Totally.
I had some questions too. Oh, never mind.
I'm going to go to direct plot and then to you.
Okay.
Is at any point like towing going to be involved in this program? Because what if people just don't respond to the parking tickets?
Yeah, well, we don't have the authority to tow, and we won't. So our only role in towing, which we can build out to be as extensive as we want, is we would tee it up to be towed. So there's a lot involved in towing a car. You can't pretty much just do it. And there's been court cases in California and other things. And so we would have a system where we would also like prioritize things. Like if it's just a car that has 5 tickets, but they're less serious tickets, we have very limited towing capacity. Like the CHPC does it, and we don't know how often they'd be coming out. A block driveway, I'd say maybe we'd want to tow that more quickly, as fast as we can, if we find it, because that's a life and safety issue if someone can't get out of their house, versus something else more minor. So it's something we're going to have to figure out more. It is one of the open-ended questions still, is how is towing exactly going to work, and what is the mechanism and the partnership going to look like.
What do you mean that CHP tows?
Excuse me?
What do you mean that CHP tows?
They're the agency who's empowered to tow in unincorporated areas.
They delegate that to then the towing companies?
Yeah, they call it tow truck, but they are the ones who have the authority to do it in Isla Vista.
Just in Isla Vista?
In unincorporated areas.
Oh.
Yeah. State
God, that's
rules.
bizarre.
Yeah.
Okay.
Director Sibos, go ahead.
Okay, cool. Okay, what did the July 1st date mean again?
That's the probable date that the County Board of Supervisors will be making a decision on our loan and delegating authority to us to do this, which is one thing that is required, is we do need to be given authority for this.
Okay, and then another question I have is like, what would the day to day, how long would these new employees be working for?
That's a really good question. I can't give you all the details right now because they're still in flux. But the essential is that it'll be 84 hours of enforcement hours per week. So we'll have 84 hours for 7 days a week, essentially, to be doing ticket enforcement, like parking, parking enforcement. And then another part of their work will be the education and outreach. So again, like going up to a door, like talking to people, talking to neighbors, informing them about issues related to parking and sustainability. Maybe even saying, oh, we might have given you a ticket, but here's a co-op membership because your house qualifies, carrot and stick, and give them some information, like you can go shop locally instead of needing a car. So because we need to decrease cars, not just write tickets.
Yeah.
And so that's some of the things they'll do. And then they'll also do customer service. They'll be responding to, people who've, gotten tickets, and we need to respond to them sometimes. So there'll be these are the 4 main areas of work: is managing the tickets themselves, writing them, talking to the public, and then doing the customer service.
Yeah, I think one of the fears though is that you have them working within regular working hours and not at night. But I think the biggest times that people are illegally parking is at night, especially when parties are going on, when there's the most high risk situations where things can go wrong and emergency vehicles need to get in. I've personally seen problems with emergency vehicles and parking. And so how do we influence, I think a thought that needs to be had is, how do we influence people not to park at night when enforcement's not going on?
Well, the 84 hours is not necessarily during the day. So it's 7 days a week, so weekends included, and it can be any times we want it to be. So we can have a morning shift, 8 to 12. We can have a 8 p.m. to 12 a.m. shift. So we can have shifts during the day and build our schedule so that people also they don't end up saying, oh, during the day, there's no parking enforcement. We'll have different scattered shifts and stuff to be able to meet all the issues.
Okay, cool.
Excellent. Director Dash.
I wanted to ask about the sunsetting law. Is it being forced in Ivy now? And will it be the responsibility of the IVCSD to be introducing that concept?
Yes, it's not being enforced now unless it is like, well, the Ivy Foot Patrol is doing some intermittent enforcement when they have, flex time, when they're flexible to be able to do it. So when they're not doing other things, so they might be running those tickets today, but there's no regular enforcement. And so that would be one of the things that would fall under the, violations we could write tickets on.
Yeah.
And it is one of the issues that has been highlighted a lot by the community, like being able to see on intersections. People from all kinds of community members complained about that as an issue, that they don't feel safe at intersections. Bikes, pedestrians, drivers themselves, all ages, all kinds of affiliations. It's a big issue. So we would want to focus on that. And yeah, we would have to be the ones who educate the community on that. And that would be one of the fake tickets we write, maybe. And we write on it, oh, well, blocking this intersection makes it hard for people and they could get in a crash, which did happen just a couple of weeks ago during our board meeting.
During our meeting.
Major collision because of the daylighting issue.
Yeah. I have another last question. So I remember I think it was during COVID when there were tickets being written. It was like your first violation is this, and then your second violation would be an increased amount. And has there been thought to, instead of multiple tickets, but your first ticket is a warning, your second ticket has a monetary value, and then it goes up?
Yeah, so that is another one of the open questions that we will bring to the board, is the fine structure.
Got it.
And so we will want to decide, what are the issues we want to give the higher fines to? What have lower fines? Do we do an escalation? And an escalation is recommended in our parking plan. So it is something that we will look into because it was one of the recommendations.
Got it. Cool. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
So sorry. Yeah, so I just had a question on page 4 under the recommended staffing plan, where it says all other code enforcement issues, including illegal dumping. So illegal dumping is kind of like the whole era of move out. So would we be combining like move out and waste services with parking and code enforcement for illegal dumping?
In a way, and yes, and in a way, no. Okay. Like they will be under the same department. So there'll be like shared resources and protocols, and the 400,000 that's coded here, that's direct cost just for parking. But if someone's already out on the street and they see, a property owner has dumped all their appliances and just left them on the curb, which happens, a lot, then they would be empowered to report it in. And we're not the ones who enforce that.
Sure.
But they could at least get it into the system. Since we're already paying them to be out on the street, we don't want to double pay for that work. Because we do already have a staff member 20 hours a week doing this. They are already going out looking for issues, flagging them, and illegal dumping is the main one. So we just don't want to do double work.
Sure. Yeah, I understand.
Okay, I've got a couple thoughts, but I want to open up public comment to give the public opportunity to speak. So I have a comment from Ash. Go ahead.
Well, I appreciate that you are being thoughtful with this and taking your time. I have a few thoughts that come up. One of them is kind of emotional for me because a lot of my friends live in their cars. Like a third of my friends, I feel like. And sometimes it's fine and they're doing well and they're not getting bothered. Sometimes it's not fine and there's specific cops that go and it seems like target them and give them one of those 72-hour tickets every day and make them do a little dance. And when you were saying 72 hours, I was a little triggered because I was remembering when that has happened to my friends, and it seems like kind of unfair. And a lot of the people I know who live in their cars are going to school or they're working in the community or they're volunteering and they're like, they're part of our community. And so I'm a little bit worried about that. And I know you all are thoughtful and you care. but I did want to name that. And then that also made me think, even for people who aren't living in their cars, but they have their car parked for 72 hours, maybe that's because they do have a car for whatever reason, but they're biking and they're riding the bus and they're not using it every day. And wouldn't we not want to punish them for that? So I think a little bit more thought needs to go into that, but maybe if there's like an underlying reason why you were thinking you did want to enforce that, maybe think of a more creative solution to get to the root of whatever it was. But yeah, those are a few thoughts on that. And then another thought is, I don't know, just be ready. People might not be happy about this.
You
Like,
think?
we talked a lot about like, okay, we want people to know about the CSD. Like, when this happens, like, when they know about the CSD and they're starting to get tickets, that's how they're gonna find out. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the answer. It's not easy.
We're gonna, all the tickets are gonna say IVRPD.
But I guess another thought is like, I know you're putting a lot of effort into thinking like, how do we incentivize and like kind of like lift up alternatives and shopping at the co-op. So yeah, maybe trying to be creative and think of ways to like incentivize people where, you know, you have an apartment with 4 or 5 people and you decided to share one car and like giving them some kind of incentive for that. I don't know, but
yeah,
that's it for today. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. The other public comments. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just also wanted to share my concern about the 72-hour thing. I know that is a county policy, but I'd like to see that not be enforced here in this area. There's a lot of different reasons people might leave their car parked somewhere for 72 hours. Maybe their car just doesn't work. But some people that I know, maybe they have a disability. And yeah, I have a couple other concerns too. I was just wondering if there's any kind of appeal people might make for financial hardship. I have the same concerns as Ash in terms of people living in their cars. I'm hoping that there's less enforcement about oversized vehicles, because that, you know, I don't want to penalize people who might be, you know, the community members that have the least amount of funds unfairly, and like a large proportion of their income going to that. I know the library has done wonderful things in not having people's library fines go to collection, right? There's a lot of people that just can't pay certain things. I'm not sure what that would look like here, but I think people are really rethinking things, knowing that this is the most unaffordable city in the country. And I'd love to continue to see that happen here. I also wanted to ask, I remember the last time I was here, people were talking about whether there would be drawing lines on Camino Mayorga and changing how people park there. Let's see if there's any update on that. And then I also wanted to know about the illegal dumping. You guys probably know, Ash and I really like the free box that was here, and we love free boxes. And I'm wondering, you know, where that line might look in terms of illegal dumping versus having free boxes and getting those resources to the community for very cheaper or free cost for people who are really struggling the most in our community. So it was a lot.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have any public comments online?
Yeah.
Okay. Seeing no other public comments in the room, I'll bring it back to the board. And just a couple things on the discussion. I think we all spoke a lot about the incentives to try to get to a place where we are hopefully solving some of the more egregious issues before they even start. Where are we at on buying out the wave for like free wave passes?
We're not there yet, but we will, work on that in the summer for the fall launch.
Cool. Yeah, I see that as a really helpful solution to get, especially younger and student drivers to not be drivers, out of their cars to help ease the congestion for everyone. And it's such an awesome service. And I think that to me, like the concerns that were raised in public comment about 72 hours and how that affects our most vulnerable populations, to me are like, those are super real. And they're things that I'm grappling with too. And I think that, you know, to me, the things that I hear about from community members that they want parking to be enforced on is they don't want their driveway to be blocked in by a car because they want to be able to get their car out. They don't want someone parking in an intersection or in a daylighting area. They don't want someone blocking a fire hydrant or other emergency or ADA access ramps. And when I walk down DP, you know, there's way more than 2 tickets an hour worth of those citations already. So when I hear this presentation, my thought is we're barely going to have the capacity to scratch the surface on some of these things. And to me, my opinion, just as one board member, is that there's a hierarchy of what these things are important and which types of citations we are looking for, and which laws are most related to health and safety and which other ones are more related to some other person's idea of convenience. And to me, it's those blocked driveways and the fire hydrants and the daylighting that is like higher on that list. But I think you're right. You know, when you said like we're not gonna be popular, yeah, we know that. We know that this is not gonna be popular. This is one of the more difficult things that we've tried to do. But for me, like this is the name of the game about making our values of addressing climate and carbon reduction real. Because if we can't figure out a way to get people to address their most carbon intensive habit in this community that says that they care so much about the environment and the climate, then there's no reason that we should expect our national or international governments to figure this out. So this is just about making our values real on that front to me. So those are my thoughts. And I will add one thing to you. I just really appreciate Jonathan for working really diligently with Supervisor Kerr, CAP's office to bring this forward and to provide them with all the information that they needed and that other parts of the county needed to feel comfortable with this. We found this fund through, I think, some of our discussions years ago with former Director Bob Geis, who was aware that there was this pot of funding specifically for Isla Vista parking that was left over from the development of a lot of the housing in the downtown Loop area, where there's developers paid additional fees specifically to address the fact that they weren't putting enough parking at their housing. And to our knowledge, that has not been used. So we think that this is a really good opportunity for the county to they've got the funding to be able to invest in this important service, and we're really excited to partner with them. Director Plot.
Yeah, I have 2 comments. I think like one thing that's like very important to always like keep in mind when we're doing this, and like this could be part of the messaging, is just why we're doing this, to build more housing. Like that's the ultimate goal of everything, is just to build more housing, and we can't do that until we solve the parking thing. And so that's, I feel like, would be very important to like put on those tickets, like to keep make residents understand why we're going through all this effort to find them and make their lives more difficult, just because the end goal is a better Isla Vista. And then to address something you said about the people who do live in their cars, and like I feel like a good way to address that, I don't know, I mean, I don't know how feasible this is, but like could some streets be like not enforced? And like I think Camino Mayorga would be a good starting place for that if we wanted to do something like that, because that's like an area where the cars on the tree side of the street, like those cars aren't going to be blocking anyone's driveways. They're not blocking any important like fire hydrants or anything. And like I feel like that could be a good place to where people who do live out of their cars could park their cars and not be afraid of receiving tickets from. I don't know if that's something we can do. Like we can adjust the program to like include that.
It's for sure something we can do. I will just let you know that there's a lot of residents who'd also be very unhappy about that, but it's something you'll have to weigh as the board of like what you want to prioritize. But it is something that can be done.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is just going back to what Spencer was talking about, how there's a hierarchy of enforcement where I think we are definitely more looking towards enforcing it on students who are bringing cars that they do not need.
Yeah, can I ask just a follow-up to that? Do we have safe parking lots in Isla Vista where people are free from enforcement?
We have multiple, and we are not supposed to tell the locations of them for safety reasons, but there's multiple.
Yeah, so, I had another point. I was very concerned that, yeah, our, parking program is not going after, people who are living in their cars or a couple weeks ago, my car battery died, and I just didn't have a chance to call AAA for a couple days, and so my car was just sitting there. Things like that. So I'm glad to hear that we have a safe parking program, but I'm worried that the amount of people we have in Isla Vista living in cars exceeds the spaces for safe parking. But what if there could be hey, if you are living in your car, and so obviously you can't, you don't want that 72-hour ticket, can we have, this person comes to the district and says, look, this is my car, this car is not gonna get a 72-hour ticket hold, or, this is my oversized vehicle, we're not gonna have that, or, someone gets a ticket, we can come back, ticket remission, say, hey, I got a 72-hour ticket violation, something like that worked out. Just because, it is really important that, Iowa Vista is not, certainly a lot of welfare, a lot of wealthy people here, but there's also a lot of not wealthy people here, and we have a very large population of people who live in cars or are completely unsheltered. I just want to make sure that we're, not having a parking sort of some residents of others.
I think giving a special permit to people processes the line of permit program. Okay. It's down the line, but the House Commission would not be happy with us doing that. But, we use common sense. Our enforcement officers can be trained and working with the county homeless outreach team to know how to recognize those cars and the resources behind, or, things like that. So what we can be, we know our community, we can, use common sense that we also enforce the rules.
So I'm just going to do this, we kind of have the ability to fine-tune specific aspects.
100%, so 100% of we can do anything we can. I think we have an audio issue. We are having audio issues. Oh no. It's muffled. Can you guys still hear us? No?
No.
What about now? I think that's not good. Which day? We're going to reset. We're finding
Wait, we're restarting. Is that what they said?
I think they said that we're going to recess and then for technical difficulties so they can fix it.
Wait, I feel so bad. It's 9:30.
I didn't even realize that.
I wonder if they can hear us. I feel like I'm in the void right now.
we're coming back live.
Can you guys
how we doing on the sound check?
I can hear you better.
Okay. You, Annabelle, you can hear us?
Yes, sorry.
Okay, awesome. We are reconvening from technical difficulties recess. And I think we're in the middle of you asking a question, Director Carmichael.
I had my question answered, so I'm all
Okay.
good. Thank you.
Okay.
Annabelle, I think had some questions in the chat, but I'm just seeing them now.
Annabelle, do you want to ask any further questions?
I'm good, but thank you.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate the update from the staff.
Yeah.
We are, as Jonathan mentioned, having individual meetings with board of supervisors members to brief them about this item before it comes to them. And we hope that we will have good news to share about the allocation of this in lieu parking funds money to our program.
I wanted to make one final comment as well.
Go ahead, Director Hobart.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you so much to Jonathan and all the staff for putting in so much work with this. It's a very complicated issue. And I think that at the core of it, it's really important that we maintain a mobility infrastructure in Isla Vista that's safe and equitable for everybody. I think that what I've seen just in my last 2 years being here is that the infrastructure is catered to cars and to people that own cars. And I don't think that that's something that a lot of people in the community are happy about. I think that everyone deserves to be able to walk down the sidewalk safely and to be able to drive down the street safely and to be able to see the pedestrians and the bikers and things like that. And I think that I'm excited to work on this parking project because it's what's cool about it is I think that we can kind of customize it to fit Isla Vista and the unique community that we have here. So I appreciate the comments that were made and the concerns that were brought up because I think that those will be important things to take into consideration when we're finalizing this enforcement program. So yeah.
Excellent. Thank you for those comments, Director Hobart. So with that, this just a report, so no action taken, and we'll move to reports from members of the board. Any board members have reports they'd like to share?
No.
I'll just share briefly. Director Hobart and I had the chance to attend the Environmental Defense Center Environmental Hero Awards, where UCSB Director of, I'm going to forget her title, but Lisa Stratton was honored. She's been really involved in conserving the North Campus open space, which is a favorite part of our community for me as a place to go running and recreate. And we additionally had been contacted by EDC about the Sable pipeline resolution that Director Hobart and I had worked on. So it was a great chance to be there and get to meet many supporters.
Yes, I'd like to echo that. It was very inspiring, and I'm excited to continue working on environmental things within the IVCSD, especially with parking. So,
excellent, thank you. Any reports from committees? We had Finance Committee. We just repopulated Policy Committee. So work will start again over the course of the summer.
Yeah, that is the plan. I did want to mention, me and Spencer talked about this, is we hope to have each of our committees meet in July because we won't be able to have a board meeting in July at this point. So we're hoping to have some committee work done, catch up on that.
Excellent. Okay, report from District Council.
Nothing from me tonight, thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Report from General Manager.
I'll only do 4 since it's so late, but yeah, all the work has gone into the parking program and the budget, the year-end finances, and then we're doing a lot of summer and fall planning as a staff of what's coming next for the second half of the year. Simple today.
Excellent. Thank you for that report. And as you mentioned, our next meeting will not take place in July. We are on recess in July. Our next meeting will take place on August 12th, 2025, right here in the community room and on Zoom. And with that, we are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
When does